It's Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Corey and Mason.
Hello and welcome to Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Mason Schmidt, here with my best bud, Corey Knudsen.
Ew.
As we get ready to crack some cold ones, which we already did, but we'll be talking about what movies we've seen lately, as well as new films that are on the horizon, notable developments in the world of movies, as well as some recent updates in terms of physical media releases. But first, we had kind of a sneaky busy week, at least you more so than me in terms of movie watching. Corey, how have you been? And second, what are we drinking today?
We're drinking some Tweez, drink of the summer. We got the little party pack, the half and half OG Rocket Pop ones, just looks like a kid's drink.
Yeah.
And a peach, which I know you got a couple over there. What a great summer drink. Figured it would be good for some of the I Know What You Did Last Summer movies we're talking about this week, so it kind of fits the theme. But I want to talk about this week, some big news for us.
Have you told me yet what you're going to say?
You know this, yes.
Oh, I do? Okay. I'm like, what's going to be said?
You were part of the process.
I was, yeah. Okay. Now I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So The Odyssey, which comes out next summer, from Christopher Nolan. The tickets for the 70mm IMAX screenings went on sale. There's only like 30 theaters in the world that have these screens, which is insane. So tickets went on sale this past week, and I came home from work one night, and I was just kind of looking at locations close to us, and you already housed that. Holy shit.
I can't drink these because they taste too good, and there's no carbonation, so it's just like really... I was telling Corey, while it was like still full like 5 minutes ago, it tastes like a brisk raspberry iced tea.
We're probably just going to get up and get more at some point during this. These go down easy.
I've never had the peach one.
And you like peach stuff, so I think you'll
peach.
probably like it, yeah. Let's see, live reaction.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill this, holy shit. This is fantastic.
Right. Well, we're going to have a fun episode today.
Sorry to distract.
No. So the tickets went on sale. I was looking. There's not any theaters in Minnesota or even Wisconsin that have this 70mm IMAX. But there is one in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So I was looking at tickets. There was like a couple left. And I text Mason. I'm like, do you want to get some tickets for this and go out there next summer, drive out, have a little road trip? And he's like, let's do it. So we got some tickets. We're seeing it Friday, July 17th, 2026, which is insane.
That is going to be an event of the summer for me, though. Now going into it, having that ticket already, like I will plan around that day now.
Oh, yeah.
As like the moment I mentioned or posted anything about it that me and Corey were doing this, because I was immediately excited. I'm like, fuck yeah, that like... I don't typically travel for movies. The furthest I've traveled is like 3 hours, but it was to go see a movie with Corey when he was up in Duluth and going to college. But now it's like, I am going to a different state to get a 70mm viewing of The Odyssey, which is a movie I'm stoked about. And I'm just like, all right, how can we build out that into a really fun fucking weekend now? And my wife was immediately like, do we have any weddings that day? I'm like, shh. If we do at this point, I'm not going. Like, I'm going to The Odyssey. Like, this is almost like a Super Bowl for the film world. Like, I can't wait. So it's gonna be such a good weekend. I'm like, part of me is like, we have a friend from Michigan. I'm like, do we try and get Detroit Mike to go with us to Michigan and maybe just show us around, see if he's been there before? Because I've never been to Michigan, so I'm excited.
Yeah, I've only been through in like passing. So like I said, there's just really not many theaters in the world that show these, so it'll be sweet.
Yep.
All the tickets are sold out already. I don't even know like how I got them really. I didn't even like plan out the times. I was just kind of like, let me look, and they were there. So this is gonna be fucking insane.
You saw the kind of, I'm guessing they had like a map layout of like the theaters because you can pre-select your theater or your seats. Where are we at?
We're in the back row.
Okay.
So we're kind of like
pretty good.
Back and to the left. Every main one was taken pretty much, but that's what I expected.
And for getting them as late as we did, like, or as late as you did, like almost midnight, that
just
works
on a
perfect.
whim.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, we should do it.
Which also, I don't think a lot of movies could probably pull this off. Like, I think Nolan has built up the reputation of, like, he makes event films, even if his films are more original or they're from his own personal stories. Odyssey, being an event film, being an epic, and now you have the Nolan pedigree. He made Oppenheimer. He's coming off of that success. Now it's just, like, to hear that the theaters have sold out is insane to me, but also I don't think a lot of movies could pull this off.
No.
Like if Megan 3.0 is coming out in 2027, do you want to buy a ticket in advance? Like, no, I don't fucking care. Like, leave me alone.
Nolan has so much motion that a year out you will buy a movie ticket and they'll sell out within minutes.
It's
insane.
I think like Marvel movies, like the Avengers movies could probably do something like this, or like if the DC, like, more genre or more franchise films, as they build out, they could maybe entertain something like this. But I love that the Odyssey is what we're buying a ticket to so far in advance. And it's just, you have the Nolan name, you have the cast with it, and that small little, like, teaser announcement trailer almost that we can kind of really go off of. And I'm so excited. I can't wait. That's so fucking sweet.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, I don't know. Are we... What we haven't talked about this. What's your stance? Do we drive or do we fly? Have you
I think
seen
we drive.
How bad?
It's like 8.5 hours.
Oh, that's not even that bad.
So spend a weekend out there.
Yeah.
Do some other shit. I don't know what's in Grand Rapids really, but let us know if you know.
If you're in Grand Rapids, Michigan, the three of you that are watching, which two of you I know live in Minnesota. So if you're that one rando that lives in Michigan, what should we do in Grand Rapids? Let us know. Comment somewhere. I don't know, wherever you're watching.
We could make a stop in Chicago on the way there.
We could. Chicago's really fun. I would go to Chicago.
Yeah. Spend a day there, do some shit. We'll see.
That's gonna be a fun fucking weekend.
Yeah, we got some planning to do. Very excited for that though.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Looking back into this week, we did kind of, like I mentioned at the start of this episode, we had kind of a sneaky busy week. We had some smaller releases for summer movies, at least if you wanted to look at it for like summer release of July. You wouldn't necessarily think like I Know What You Did Last Summer and Eddington would be a really big pairing, but those are movies that we're both kind of somewhat looking forward to, at least one more so than the other. But I Know What You Did Last Summer did come out. We will talk about our thoughts on that. We both did see that this week, or at least we both saw most of it, at least. But I know we both revisited, or at least visited for the first time, the original 1997 I Know What You Did Last Summer, which is directed by Jim Gillespie. Stars Jennifer Love Hewitt, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Freddie Prinze Jr., Ryan Philippe, and Muse Watson, and Johnny Galecki, which was a big surprise for me. I know the premise of this, and I feel like most people do. It's 4 teenagers, 4 college-age kids, like in that era of their life. They are somewhat responsible for something really bad happening, and they cover it up, and they run away from it, and then they get a note roughly a year later saying, I know what you did last summer. So someone outside of our group knows what's going on. How do we get away with this? How do we figure it out? Not only that, but this person that knows what we did is hunting us down and is killing people. So it's a great premise. It's a film that I had never seen until this week, and even though I hadn't seen it, it feels like a very like 90s staple for a horror slasher. Which to say it's a slasher, what we can talk about that. It is by default, I think, a slasher, but it goes in a different direction where it's like it's not just trying to give you kills. This movie really focuses on the mystery of who's hunting us down, which I really enjoyed. Corey, this was the first time I think that you watched this as well. So what were your thoughts on I Know What You Did Last Summer, 1997?
Yeah, we were talking about it before, and even though I didn't see it, when I was a kid, it had the nostalgic feel to it.
Yeah.
And I think partly because written by Kevin Williamson, who also wrote the first couple Scream movies, which we both love. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of the more popular and more acclaimed
of those outings, yeah.
Yeah, of the franchises.
Creative works, yeah.
Interesting that I was reading that he wrote this movie before he wrote Scream.
I've heard that too.
Kind of interesting that he did this one first, which is a bit more, like you said, kind of fun but generic slasher movie. Mm-hmm. Like there's not a lot of like redefining the genre or breaking it down like Scream does, which it doesn't need to be really. I think this movie just works perfectly as being these teenagers that I think they're all pretty likable leads.
Yeah, I really enjoy the cast here, and I like as a 25-year-old, but also like when the Garfield movie came out in the early 2000s, I had a massive crush on Jennifer Love Hewitt, and whenever her Hallmark Lifetime show, I think it was The Ghost Whisperer, I used to watch that with my mom, and it was more for selfish reasons of like, I think that this woman is fine with a capital F, and my mom was just like, oh, this is a really good story, and I'm like, no, it's not.
You know why I'm here.
You know why I'm watching this with you, come on.
Yeah.
So, and like Sarah Michelle Gellar, Freddie Prinze Jr., which is so cool, like to have those two in a movie together. Obviously, we get them again in Scooby-Doo, which is a weird thing to see them pop up again, and they're married.
This is the movie that they met on.
Yeah,
so
it's really cool. It's like really distinct in history when this movie takes place, and yes, it's a 90s slasher, and it kind of sadly lives in the shadow of the Scream franchise, which sucks, but also I think that there is so much good within this movie, mm-hmm. and kind of like what you said, we both haven't seen this movie until this week, and even though watching it on the first time, it felt nostalgic. Like it feels it has such a nuance to it. It feels, not that it's original, but it has so much iconography that's special to the slasher franchise. Like, is it a slicker, mm-hmm. or the suit that the killer wears? that slicker and that hook combination is so iconic. The note itself, the title is so iconic. Like, it plays into so much of stuff that I look back on, like, into, like, what I love as a horror fan. I know of this movie even though I haven't seen it, and I know a lot about this movie even though I haven't seen it, but watching it now for the first time, it was such a fun watch. My wife really liked it too. The cast is great. And I really like that they kind of focused a lot on the mystery of it. And, like, none of the kills were, like, amazing to me. Like, they're all, like, serviceable, pretty good. But it was really just, like, the story of these characters really diving into what did we do? Who did we do it to? Who's after us? Them trying to figure that out, I thought was the most engaging part of the movie.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of good sequences in here, too. There's one with Sarah Michelle Gellar in a store when she's going through, and then there's, like, the elevator, the freight elevator she's going up. And
she's just pulling herself up.
Yeah, just all the sequences there. And then I like the final sequence on the boat, too.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of fun, just Jennifer Love Hewitt going through.
Holds up pretty well.
She goes into, like, this ice part, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
So, a lot of good stuff. Jennifer Love Hewitt does a lot of screaming in this movie.
She does.
A lot of screaming.
So the one scene that I had seen before this film, before watching it, was the "What are you waiting for?" Like, in the middle of the road, yelling into, like, the ether, or, like, the fucking houses all around the block. What are you waiting for? Come get us! It was like, seeing that out of context, I'm like, okay, like, it's not the best. And then seeing it in the movie, I'm like, it, like, kind of works. Like, this is a movie that's of its time, but it's still, like, I completely understand the kind of cult following that this film has garnered over the years. I didn't sit down and watch all the sequels because I just figured, I'm like, I think that just based off of what I know, surface level, that this is probably the best of those movies, and I really enjoyed it. I don't want to taint that, but I know you watched the rest of them, which
Yes.
I commend you for, but I'm not fucking doing that.
Well, this one was definitely the best of the entire franchise because I Still Know What You Did Last Summer came out 1 year later.
That's crazy, that turnaround. I didn't even notice that.
Pumped it out real quick. You have Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. coming back. You have Brandy, who I remember as, like, a singer back in the day. Or she's still around, but, like, she's putting out a lot of music in the early 2000s. But this one is, you know, it takes a step down for sure. The group of people go to the Bahamas, go to this resort where a very young Jack Black works there, and he's just high as fuck the whole time, which is really fun to see.
Hell yeah.
You get a little John Hawkes cameo in the beginning of the movie.
That's
kind
also
of fun.
That's cool casting.
Yeah,
John
so
Hawkes.
he's there for a second. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of... There's a lot of plot holes in this movie, or just, like, things that don't make sense as to why the killer is doing what they're doing and how they are here and their connection and the history with this location that they're at. That all is kind of messy and didn't really work for me. But there is still some fun. I like the location of the Bahamas, like this resort for a I Know What You Did Last Summer movie. So there's still some good stuff
Plays
there.
into that summer vibe too,
Yeah.
like a big summer vacation. Like, that's fun.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I still love Jennifer Love Hewitt, and seeing her going through this, and, you know, 1 year after the events of the first movie, how she's reacting to it and where she's at in life. So I think there is some good stuff in there, and it's certainly not a bad movie at all. Like, I think I would recommend it, just if you like the movies and you haven't seen it.
The only thing that I know about this movie is that it continues the Jennifer Love Hewitt character, but also it's directed by the director of the 1995 Judge Dredd movie, which I watched maybe 40 times as a child because I was a big Sylvester Stallone fan. I remember in, like, 5th grade we had to write a paper in 5th grade about an influential person in history, and I chose Sylvester Stallone.
Hell yeah.
And my teacher was like, okay, fine. And I just wrote about Judge Dredd and the Expendables because those are, like, the two, and Rocky, but, like, those two, Judge Dredd and Expendables, I was like, this is awesome. Movie sucks. So I'm not surprised to hear, like, the turnaround from first movie to this is crazy. A year of production and putting that back out into theaters is awesome. Like, that's insane. I'm not surprised to see kind of, like, or hear about the kind of middling reaction or middling reviews in terms of how it follows up the original. But the thing is just like, oh, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Freddie Prinze Jr., cool, they're back. Kind of Jack Black introduction, even though he's not credited. And then you get directed by the guy that directed Judge Dredd, which I love. So, which doesn't speak that it's going to be the best movie of all time, but I'm happy that you at least were able to get some enjoyment out of it.
Yeah, there is some very laughable, like, reveals at the end of the movie.
Okay.
I won't spoil it now. Maybe I'll tell you after. But there's just one of the main villains of the movie. He has, like, a line that is meant to feel like this big, like, oh, do you see? And it's so corny and so funny. But, yeah, I don't know. Also, the title doesn't really make sense, because it should be like...
That implies that it's the same person and that they got away with it.
Well, not even that, but it should be like, I know what you did 2 summers ago. Like, not last summer.
That too.
Because,
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, like, last summer, like, you were just self-defense.
Yeah.
2 summers ago is when you killed somebody.
I will say, I still know what you did last summer is maybe one of the worst titles.
It's an
It's
awful...
it's not a good title.
No.
It's that, and then the directed is a direct-to-DVD sequel that we'll talk about here, or at least you'll talk about in the middle. Not a good title. No. I think that the first title, it's kind of like cheesy, but it's so nostalgic and like
it catches your attention.
Yeah. And it's a classic now within the genre itself, so it's kind of smoothed over any hard edges or any hard opinions I could have on it, because it's just so iconic. But I still, it just is so thrown together, and that which kind of sounds like some of this movie is.
Yeah, and I think the first movie works well on its own as that story, and like as a contained, like, this doesn't need to be a franchise, really.
And so what I really liked about the first one, and I knew that these sequels existed, and I'm not really planning on visiting these at any point soon or ever. I like the ending of that first one of she's in that like, or she's in the like showers and she has that mirror. I want you, when you edit this later, to cut to your reaction saying she was in the shower. But she was in the shower, and you get like the killer's figure in the slicker with the hook busting through the glass. I'm like, I like where that ends. I like kind of how ambiguous that ending is. And in my head, if the franchise ends there, cool. I like that. So, and then this movie has to kind of rewrite or figure a way to make itself exist within this world now, after kind of having that period at the end of that first movie of, well, actually, this is what's going on.
They do a similar ending at the end of the second one, which it sort of falls in that thing. It's like, is this a dream? Is this a lie? It's like, it doesn't really make sense if you've seen the second movie. But we did, as you mentioned, get a directed DVD movie, which we don't really get to say that much anymore. It's direct to streaming now.
Yeah,
I kind of miss the like direct to video. Like,
you go to Walmart, $5 movie bin, they're all just like Bruce Willis in the late
Steven
2010s, Steven Seagal, like
Scott Adkins.
Yeah, sometimes you find like one that's like, hey, this ain't bad. Like, I can watch this.
They would also be like Redbox movies where sometimes I'm like, there's nothing like new that I want to see, but I'm like,
Cold Day of Light or something. There's like a Henry Cavill one with Bruce Willis that I can envision the poster of, but it's like Cold Day of Night or Cold Light or some bullshit. But I'm like, wow, I'm never gonna watch that. But hell yeah, they got paid. Sweet.
You know what? Get it. Yeah. So this is one of those. I'll always know what you did last summer. Again, just a dog shit title.
Wow.
Yeah, so this movie does not bring back any of the original cast, none of the creative team. It is one of the most poorly made movies I've ever seen, which, you know, to a certain degree with like straight to DVD movies or straight to streaming even, I'll kind of lessen my like, oh wow, that's dog shit, because it's like, okay, you had less of a budget, it's fine. This one, I found no enjoyment in. I really hated this movie a lot. The inciting incident is that the group of kids do this prank and one of their friends dies. They were trying to do a prank of like the fisherman coming back, and so they're just immediately unlikable, because it's not like the like first movie where they're like, yeah, they were just like dumb kids being drunk. And I think that, to go back to the first one for a second, like, not that like anybody has gone through that specifically like for us, but it's that same thing of like being a kid and you do something wrong
and trying to figure out how to deal with
how am I not going to tell my parents or the teachers or whatever, like, how do I get out of this without doing the most like immoral thing, but also like, how can we get away with it? Because how can we get away with when you're like high school, like your brain's not developed and you're like, you think you're being sneaky with some stuff and you're not. Like, you just I think that like is more relatable of the first movie where you're like, okay, I can get behind these kids of like, fuck, what if I was in that situation?
Well, that and the inciting incident in that first one, I think works so well. And we'll talk about kind of the reboot in a minute. But I think the inciting incident, you have that like intensity of like, fuck, we did something horrible. Like, and we actively caused this to happen. How do we get out of this? And I think that it really works in that movie. And from the sounds of it, the way you described this to me before we started recording, I was like, holy shit, that's so stupid.
Yeah, I'll always know what you did last summer, that it's just like, you don't like the characters because it's this dumb prank that doesn't make sense, and then their friend dies, and then they get the note and whatever. And
this feels like a Disney version, like a Disney original version, at least the way that you described the inciting incident of like the mattress bullshit.
Absolutely. Like, it's so dumb. I didn't like any of the characters. The writing is dog shit. Yeah. It's so like desaturated and just gray and bland looking, and it's not interesting in any sense.
Does it? So it takes place in Colorado?
It does.
It not take place in like Southport?
No.
So okay, so like the Slicker, the icon of that killer is now across the nation. Like people know of that character. That's kind of, I'm like, I feel like you just set it back in Southport and you have a new cast of characters, kind of similar to like this reboot. A new cast of characters, and you have that legacy of like, oh, remember back in 1990s when this person went deranged and killed a bunch of teens and stuff like that. It's kind of like the Scream franchise, but I think you just base it in that same town. It's weird that it's in a completely different spot.
It takes place in a town called Broken Ridge, Colorado.
Not great. That screams CW TV show.
So, from what I was able to look at, there's not a town called Broken Ridge. There's obviously a town called Breckenridge, Colorado. I'm assuming they saw it. What if we did Broken Ridge? And that's this movie. That sums up.
Hear me out. I have a good idea.
Yeah, some dude high on coke, like I got something. But yeah, this movie sucks. The reveal of who the killer is and what they do with that, I really didn't like in the movie. They go into a more supernatural, demonic route, which doesn't fit this franchise at all. Can't recommend this one, even if you're like myself, where you want to watch through the franchise to like get caught up for the new one. You do not need to watch this movie at all. Watch the first two. Don't watch this.
This is the Superman 3 of the I Know What You Did Last Summer franchise. All right.
For real. Yeah. But that gets us into 2025 when we have the same title, I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Stop doing that.
We've done this so many times.
We've done it with Scream. We've done it with Candyman. We've done it with Halloween. Like, what are we doing? Fucking
so many times.
Just, and I'm like, I'm not like the biggest police. Like, I'd rather there be, which might be kind of a different take. I'd rather have like the colon subtitle to a title of a film as opposed to like Superman 2 or like I'd rather it be like I liked Superman Legacy, Superman colon Legacy. That works for me. Stop doing I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025. Like fuck that. Put a name on it or just change it a little bit.
2 weeks in a row with Superman and then this movie it's just like God damn it
guys.
Glad Fantastic Four didn't do that. That's great.
I really love the title too. First Steps, that's perfect.
Yeah. So this movie obviously comes, 28 years after the original one?
Yep.
And we get some of the returning cast back. Jennifer Love Hewitt, Freddie Prinze Jr. come back. And we get a whole new cast of characters, kind of led by Madeline Klein and Chase Sui Wonders, who I liked her a lot in The Studio. I thought she was really good in that show. She was also in Bodies, Bodies, Bodies from a few years back.
I also didn't love that movie.
Yeah. But I think she's a pretty good actress. But in this movie, I don't think that any of the characters are given any interesting elements.
No.
This is more or less the same movie as the first. All of the plot points, the beats, it hits all the same stuff. So it's not doing anything original or new there.
Except for maybe I didn't stick around for this entire movie. I watched the first hour. So a lot of what I'm going to reference about the ending of this movie is what Corey told me. So the only thing original that feels like exists within this new film is within that ending and what they do with some of the characters. And that, cool. I'm happy I didn't stick around for it though. Like fuck it. Like I was there for an hour. I saw Eddington and I saw I Know What You Did Last Summer in the same day. And I was kind of riding a little bit of a high. Like I'm spending a lot of the day at the movie theaters. It's a great day. I'm somewhat excited. I like the original now after seeing it earlier last week. Seeing this movie and I'm just like, I fucking hate all of these characters. I would say most of the performances are like pretty fine. It's just that none of the characters are really given much to be like they have no personality. They're all just like the archetypes. They're like the personality that they do give to the characters is shit that annoys and frustrates me so much. Madeline Klein's character is insufferable. And whereas like when you look back at I Know What You Did Last Summer 1997, it's steeped in the 90s. Like when I think 90s slasher, even without seeing it, I would assume I Know What You Did Last Summer. And I feel like they tried so hard to make this movie almost a time capsule of 2025. And they try to make it like, okay, we have to have all the 2025 lingo. We need to talk about all those 2025 things. Oh, slay, queen, fetch. Oh, like, oh, God. Like, all that stupid shit. They had to work that lingo, that dialect, that the way we talk, the slang terms. They had to figure that out. And watching it now was grating. Like, Madeline Klein, I Don't Hate You. You were in Glass Onion, sequel to the Knives Out. And I really liked her in that movie. In this, I was like, you are insufferable. You're not giving a bad performance, but your character is horrible.
There is a balance, I feel like, with like including modern stuff. It's always going to be a part of movies, but I think to your point of like the original movie, it feels 90s, but it doesn't tell you that it's in the 90s. It's just like...
Look at Jennifer Love Hewitt's fucking bangs. Like, it's the 90s.
Look, the clothes and the production design, that sort of stuff. With this one, I 100% agree. It's just like... They're like, oh, the podcast and my crypto wallet and meditation and all the... Like, just all these kind of things that are like... You didn't need to do that, really. Like, you can maybe do a couple of them, but, like, have a balance of it.
Yeah, and, again, playing off of or talking about... horror legacy sequels, reboots, where they take the same name as the original film in their franchise. The Halloween movie came out in 2018. I actually really like that movie. I love the Halloween franchise, and I really like the 2018 Halloween movie. There's issues I have with it. Doesn't matter. The worst part, or one of the worst aspects of that movie, I think I would highlight, is the podcast kind of tie-in, or the reason why this story is happening is that a couple of podcasters are revisiting the story of Laurie Strode and Michael Myers. And I think some people would agree with that. Like, the podcasting element, that's just so stupid, and it feels too current and just kind of out of, like, it takes it out of the realm of, like, reality, and just, like, it loses its own immersion in the movie because, like, oh, podcasting, well, that exists. And this, like, it just, there's annoyances I have with that. They do that again in this movie. Oh, there's a podcaster coming back to Southport to talk about the Slicker and talk about the killer and how this happened to teenagers in 1997, which Jennifer Love Hewitt was a part of, or that character was a part of. And I just, the moment that aspect was kind of revealed within the story, I was like, fuck it. I mentally checked out. I'm already, like, the movie didn't win me over initially, like, right off the bat. I was willing to, like, forgo some things. There's a lot of horror cliches in this that pissed me off, like the Madeline Klein looking out the window. Is there something outside in the dark? And then she has someone touch her shoulder, and you hear that big jump scare, but it's her husband or her fiance in the house with her. And it's like, that never worked. That has never worked. 80s, 90s, 2000s now doesn't fucking work. Stop doing it. It is the laziest thing. And this movie is just filled with, like, bad horror tropes that I feel like in 2025 we've kind of done a lot of work to get away from. And then to see a movie that's, it's almost like it could be good. It could be cool to get kind of a retelling of this story in a modern era, but to have it revert to a lot of shitty things done in kind of the worst lackluster slasher films of like the 80s and 90s, or even in the 2000s, of like jump scare, that's all we have. And then all these characters, you don't like them. They're not like necessarily the worst performances, but I will say, I haven't watched the studio yet. Is it Chase? You said Chase Sui Wonders? Mm-hmm. I thought she was the most bland performer in this film, and she's somewhat the pseudo lead, at least from the hour of the movie I watched, so you can take my review of this movie with a grain of salt, because I haven't finished it, nor do I think I'm going to. But she is the lead. No emotion, no connection. It's the writing is so heavy-handed, ham-fisted in terms of how they introduce things, how characters tell us how they're feeling, and she's getting ready in one of the opening scenes to go to a party, to go to an engagement party. Looks in the mirror, sees a photo of her mom. I love you, Mom. Oh, is your mom dead? Yeah? That's what we're doing? Cool. Like, Corey, what'd you think? Before I get a noise complaint from your neighbors.
I love, so Mason saw the movie before I did. He texted me, he's like, I left an hour in. And I was like, great, I'm seeing this tomorrow.
Which some people in my theater really dug it, so you could maybe like it more than me. I hope you enjoy it. If you love this movie, great. Didn't work for me. I hope people that spent money to go see it got a good time out of it. Yeah,
and I talked a second ago just about it being pretty formulaic, like you said, a lot of tropes we've seen before. Yeah. Characters they just don't have that charm of the original. There's just nobody that I'm like, I'm connecting with you, really. But I did have an okay enough time with it. Like, there's some fun kills and there's some cool gory deaths like towards the end of the movie that I kind of dug.
I missed out on.
And like it does go back to the first movie of having a mystery of trying to figure out who it is. Mm-hmm. And I think that is kind of interesting. Like, it's fun to do the whodunit and be like, okay, it's not that person because they just died, but like, could it be multiple people? Yeah. Is it just one person doing it? Who's a part of it? So I enjoyed that. And it, not that it's anywhere near quality, but it gave me similar feelings of like Scream 5, where I was like, it's this legacy sequel coming back. You have some of the new cast there. like I said, Scream 2022, was it? Or Scream 5, whatever.
Yeah, Scream 5.
Scream 5, much better than this, but it kind of gave me that same feeling of like, okay, it's another like okay addition to this franchise. And I think that, if you're a big fan of the franchise, I think this one will give you more of what you liked. And there's some fun cameos in there, and there's also a mid-credits scene that you should definitely stick around for. It has some setup for the next movie, some resolution for this one, and then a fun cameo in there if you've seen other movies in the franchise. So this one was okay for me. I didn't hate it as much as you did.
Yeah.
Obviously, I stuck around for the whole movie, but I wasn't like, oh, wow, this is a movie I'm going to remember a lot this year.
Yeah.
It's towards the bottom of my rankings for the year.
I'm not going to say that the movie is like absolute dog shit. There are aspects of the movie that actually kind of worked for me, and which I knew going into it based on the trailers, like Jennifer Love Hewitt, Freddie Prinze Jr. coming back. And not that I have the longest connection with these characters because I saw the original earlier this week, but to be able to see those characters within this world again was kind of cool. Mm-hmm. And I only got... The point I left has two characters in a cemetery late at night, and I left during that scene. Madeline Klein was one of the characters in that scene. I don't remember the name of the actor that was also in that scene with her, but that actor was actually my favorite part of the movie. Her ex-fiance, or her prior fiance. I actually thought he was kind of funny. But I left during that scene. I did, at that point in the movie, get a couple of good, decent scenes with Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. I never got to see them reunite. That is one thing I feel like I maybe did myself a disservice of never seeing them on screen again. I'm guessing you probably see it at some point. Mm-hmm. Probably not far after when I left. But I knew in that movie that I wasn't going to get anything that would win me over in the second half. Talking to Corey now, before recording, there are some pretty decent developments that I think happen in that latter half, especially with the mystery of who's doing these killings. I think part of it is predictable. Stuff that I kind of caught on to, I feel like, earlier in the film. I don't want to spoil it. I want to leave this as much for people that are watching us to go see this movie and make up their own opinion of it. But I will say some of the resolution is stuff I thought about and was already like, I feel like this might be happening. But one thing that you did tell me about, which may be kind of polarizing depending on how you viewed this franchise or what you're thinking going into this movie, is something pretty surprising that I would never have pegged, really. I never would have guessed that this was what was going on. And I don't know a reveal that happens later if I would have liked it within the realm of the movie. Thinking about it outside of the movie, I'm like, that's interesting. It feels forced, but it's interesting. Like, that's kind of a cool downstroke to end on, cool new kind of avenue to take, especially if you guys are looking to develop this into more sequels. So I would say go watch it. Funny that you bring up Scream 2022 because Scream 5 I did not like the first time I saw it, and then upon rewatches I really actually have grown to like that movie, even though it is kind of very much of almost a beat for beat remake of the first one to me. But I still like Scream 5, and I'm like, maybe in a couple of years' time I might, because I don't like not liking things, so I fully envision myself maybe trying to revisit this in the future. I might like this a little bit more, but at this point, that first hour fucking just bogged it down so much to where I was like, there's nothing here that can win me over.
Yeah, to the ending, and again, we won't spoil it, kind of leave the surprise for you guys, but I think that the idea of some of the reveals could have been very interesting, and I think the movie should have focused more on dealing with the legacy in this town of how these murders in 97 have impacted people now, and kind of being like, wow, we're like, feels like a ghost town here. Like, you just feel that weight of what happened. I think they should have dug into that more, and I think that could have played into some of that reveal at the end too, of like, you feel that with the characters, because when they reveal some stuff, you're like, I don't feel like you would actually do this. Like, I don't get behind it. Not that I'm against the idea totally, but it's just like, you didn't really do the work to get there. You just kind of did it for the shock reveal. So I would have loved to see a bit more depth of like how this has affected at least the legacy characters and the town itself of Southport. So, this one for me is okay. I think it's fine. If you like the franchise, I think you'll enjoy this one enough, but nothing super memorable.
Yeah, this is, I think, by default, has to be my least favorite film of the year. But it's not that, like, it's weird because it didn't work for me, but I wouldn't not recommend it to you because it could work for you, and a lot of people in the theater that I was in seemingly enjoyed it from the sounds of it. So maybe check it out, especially if you're a fan of the original ones. I think it's worth giving it a stab. I was a fan of the original one, even though I saw it a week ago or earlier last week, and I gave it a shot. It didn't work for me. I left early, which I haven't done since Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom. But I will say, to go off that point of, I did enjoy some of the characters that they've introduced within this film. It wasn't necessarily of the core group, but it was a relative of the core group that had kind of history or ties to how this town has changed post the original killings in 97. I was like, that's cool. Mm-hmm. I kind of want more of that story instead, though. I don't need kind of a rehash of what we've gotten before. I'm kind of more interested in that, and maybe spin a story around that. And they're trying to hide our history of this town. Maybe base a killer within that plot line or that story, but I would still recommend seeing it, even though I outright kind of hated it. So it's an interesting kind of review to give, especially since, again, I've only saw an hour of it, but going off of what Corey has said and what he's told me, ideas, I think, exist within this movie to, I think, it warrant its existence. And if people were like, I'm a big fan of it, I'd be like, okay, fine, that's okay. I'm not mad at you, I don't doubt you. But for me, it just didn't do enough to win me over. And I think that there is too many cliches and poorly written scenes that just immediately rubbed me the wrong way. But I think if you're a horror fan, give it a shot. It might work for you.
I think there actually could be a decent sequel to this movie.
Oh, and I probably would still see the sequel.
Yeah, and they kind of set up for some sequel stuff. And I think if they tapped into more of that, like we talked about the legacy of these murders, I think this kind of franchise lends itself, like we said earlier, not to a direct sequel, like I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, but more of a reboot 20 years later or whatever, where it's not this event takes place 1 year after this. It's no, some time has passed, and how do we sit with that? So I don't know if this will get a sequel or not. I guess time will tell with box office, and we'll see how it does this summer.
I did look at rough, basic, bland numbers of just roughly what the production costs were, and I think it said around $15 million, and I think it was forecasted this opening weekend to make around 13 to 14. So all right, well, in the first week you could potentially make your budget back in terms of production, but maybe marketing and stuff, you have to factor that in. So who knows? But if they are able to turn a profit, which horror movies, low budget, you can typically turn a profit. I wouldn't be surprised to see if a sequel was in the cards for this. Watching it did kind of make me think of Scream 5 of that legacy sequel of a 90s horror franchise. So, and we already got Scream 6, which is my favorite of the franchise. And
is it actually?
It is.
I didn't know that.
I would definitively say, I think I used to be it's a toss-up between the original and Scream 6. Scream 6 I think is my favorite.
Oh, shit.
Even though it has a reveal of the killer that I'm not the biggest fan of, the rest of the movie I love compared to the first one.
Okay.
Or a little bit more so than the first one. But who knows? Maybe there's I Still Know What You Did Last Summer 2027 to come out that I might love. Who knows? Again, if there is a sequel, I still probably would see it in theaters. At
least part of it in theaters.
At least an hour of it in theaters. Otherwise, aside from I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025 coming out this past week, we had a movie that is kind of quietly a movie that you and I were both really looking forward to, just based on the pedigree of the people working in front of the camera and behind. Mostly the name Ari Aster is kind of, in a way, it's the Christopher Nolan selling point for I feel a lot of mass film fans and people that are I want to go see Tenet or Interstellar. I love Inception. Ari Aster, it's very I feel art house filmmaking or A24 film fans that are really stoked about seeing Eddington. The trailers haven't given the most away. They've done a good job, I think, of setting the tone or setting the world that this movie lives within. But while the trailers didn't 100% work for me, I was just intrigued because it's Ari Aster. We have these three movies here. I love Hereditary. I love Midsommar, or Midsummer, however you say it. Every time I say it, I feel someone corrects me, so I change the way I say it, and then the other person is actually just say it the normal way. And I'm which way is the fucking normal way? And I actually really like Beau is Afraid. I think that movie's fucking wild. I think it's so funny, and I love that big penis monster. Hell yeah. Crazy thing to say.
Yeah,
all right. But going into Eddington, I had kind of a full head of steam. It's starring Joaquin Phoenix, Deirdre O'Connell, Emma Stone, Michael Ward, and of course Pedro Pascal, who's kind of on a hot streak this past summer and through the rest of July with Materialists and Fantastic Four First Steps, and now this
Last of Us
and fucking Last of Us recently. This dude is on a killer of a year. I'm going to set the scene. If you haven't seen the trailers, again, it is kind of a smaller film. It's in May of 2020, which watching the trailer, knowing that, I was like, ooh, this is going to be a lot. I was immediately worried about this movie preaching to me because I don't think anyone wants to look back on 2020 and revisit a lot of that. 2020 was a hard year. We had the pandemic. We had a bunch of shit. You can go into it. You can be pissed about it, whatever. I agree. Sure, whatever. It sucked. This movie takes place in May of 2020, but there's a standoff between a small-town sheriff and the mayor, the current mayor, that sparks a powder keg as they are neighbors that will be pitted against each other as they kind of run for mayor within the small town of Eddington, New Mexico. And the movie is that to start, and it just kind of builds outward. And it's kind of a tale of two halves based on kind of how you view it. Corey, where was your anticipation like? Or what was it like for Eddington? And kind of how did this movie sit with you? How did it work for you? How did it work for your screen viewing? Because you told me you had a pretty interesting viewing as well.
This movie is designed to get a big reaction from people, no matter what side you're on. It's sort of impossible to watch this movie and talk about it and like react to it without getting into politics to a certain extent. So I was looking forward to it. Ari Aster is one of the most interesting directors. I love Hereditary. I think that is a damn near perfect movie.
Yeah.
I like Midsommar a lot. Beau's Afraid, I love the first half. Don't love the second half. And that's where I fell with Eddington too, is that I really, really dug the first half of this movie. It takes a second to be like, all right, I'm getting transported back to May of 2020 when, there's a lot going on here.
All the cringy shit. Not that it's like, it's more just like, oh my god, I fucking forgot about that.
We have the pandemic. We have the death of George Floyd and Black Lives Matter movement. We have election type stuff, even though they don't get into like presidential stuff like the election in this town,
which I really appreciated.
Yeah,
I didn't need them to take a stance on big politics, but like tackle COVID, tackle what you want. If you're setting this movie in this time period, do enough to justify this time period, but also give me something interesting aside from it. Yeah,
and so this movie is trying to tackle a lot, and I think that's one of my major issues with it is that it really is... It's trying to dip into a lot of different things, which I think it does all of those things individually pretty well, I would say. There's also kind of a whole thing about like big corporations and businesses versus the people. Yeah. And how in times of tragedy and, just chaos in the world, corporations kind of win out in a certain way and, like, profit off of that.
Yeah.
So, like, that's an interesting stuff. There's a lot of interesting commentary about COVID 5 years later and the very opposing sides, which still gets debated today, of should we have worn masks? Should we have not? What was the mandates? Should we have to go into a grocery store to get food to eat? Should we have to wear a mask? And the opposing viewpoints on that. And I think that the first half of this movie handles all of those things really well. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I thought there was a great balance of showing flawed characters on both sides, kind of anchored by Joaquin Phoenix and Pedro Pascal running for mayor with opposing views. And I think showing that they both have flaws, but they are trying to do the right thing to a certain extent. They think they're doing what's best for their community, which I liked, and I thought that it worked really well. And then there's a certain point in the movie, I won't spoil it. I don't know that we'll get into spoilers.
No,
really.
We probably won't, but when you said there's a certain turning point, I knew exactly the scene you were referring to. And it worked for me, but I'm not, like, I get it. Like, it is a massive shift in the story.
Yeah, and for me, it went from having this, like, walking this very fine satirical line of being like, there's good and bad on both sides, and we're seeing some light and some dark in all the characters. It went to shifting to one side and sort of, for me, picking a side, which I feel like is a controversial thing to say, because people can be like, well, you're a fucking whatever. I don't care. I don't care. That's just what I thought of the movie. So, for me, it picked a side where a character clearly becomes a villain of the story. And they do things that you're like, okay, well, you're not a good person. There's no, like, well, I can see, like, maybe it's a good thing. It's like, no, they're just a bad person now. And that continues through what they're trying to do in the rest of the movie. Mm-hmm. And for me, it lost it a bit. I think you could still do a version of that, but kind of keep that kind of gray area where you're like, I see where you're coming from, but you're not going about it the right way. This kind of went to the extreme for me.
I honestly think... I loved this movie. I honestly think that scene that is the turning point, if you take the scene out, but you leave what happens because of that scene in the film, of certain characters meeting certain endings or something happening, and we don't 100% know who was responsible for those things, and we were left to kind of feel it out throughout the rest of the film. I think that level of ambiguity could have helped to keep the balance that we had in the first half. Because I'll agree, this movie, I was really worried going in that it was going to be preachy. It was going to be cringy, one, because like, oh my god, I don't want to relive 2020. No one wants to relive 2020. Which you do in this movie. You relive kind of the absurdity of it. And I think that this movie does a good job of like, hey, I'm not going to tell you why it's absurd because you believe this or because you believe this. You're on this side of the fence or that side. You're red or you're blue. It doesn't matter. But I think that this movie takes like a holistic approach of like, look at this. Do you think that's absurd? Do you think what we're doing is a bit wild? Which I think, watching the movie, I'd be like, yeah, 100%. It worked for me. But I think once you get to that one scene, it then does start to kind of, it changes the way that the movie flows. It changes almost genre a little bit too. The first half of this movie is kind of like, they do a good job of establishing the world we're in, the time period, what's going on. There's this mayor race between two opposing sides, and you're right that they address flaws within both candidates. And I'm like, okay, I'm enjoying this back and forth. And I loved how unpredictable this movie is and how it continued to be through the end. But once that kind of scene happens and this shifts from, like, obviously we have a protagonist, but now it's like, all right, now we have not only a protagonist and an antagonist, we have a protagonist or like a good guy and a bad guy. And it kind of then skews into, all right, now I'm telling you how to feel a little bit. Or I'm telling you what side is kind of right. Which, when that happened, that shift in the story, I was still on board with it, and I still really liked it, and I thought it was engaging and fun. And this film is wild because it's able to handle a bunch of different genres. It does action movie, weirdly enough, for mostly in the third act, but for aspects of it. Weirdly enough, Ari Aster's humor is very, like, to me, it's similar to Yorgos Lanthimos' humor of just like edgy, upfront, abrasive, but very funny. Dark comedy, yeah. And it works for me. But I think that scene that is the turning point in the movie, I think you could remove it, and not knowing what happens in a scene, but then you get that scene that happens after where they're revisiting it, and a character's involved saying like, well, I don't know about that, or I don't know about that. It's like, well, leave some ambiguity to it. Let someone build up their own mind, build up their own interpretation of what could have happened in that moment, have some mystery there, and then it would kind of inform, I feel like, that latter half to be a little bit more interesting. I was on board the latter half. Again, I loved this movie, and as I've gotten further away from it, I've really enjoyed it more and more. But I think that there is a kind of a missed opportunity to let this movie just become its own thing, as opposed to, which I love Ari Aster, but Ari Aster making a film that kind of, at a point, is kind of pushing you to lean a certain way, a little bit. Like, I'm not, like, the biggest fan of, like, this movie's telling me how to think, or this movie's telling me or preaching to me, which movies are going to tell you a story, and if you agree with the story or not, that's you'll take it a certain way. This one, I loved the story. I was entrenched in it. I was surprised by how much I liked it, but I think that there are things I'm like, you could have laid off a little bit.
Yeah.
Practice restraint in some aspects.
Yeah. I think that's why it was frustrating for me, much like Beau's Afraid, too, where, like, I love so much about the first half of the movie, and there's even stuff in the back half of this movie that, like, the cinematography by Darius Kanji in this movie is beautiful. This New Mexico town, you just feel it. There's so many great shots of, like, the sun setting, this desert. Yeah. I think it looks incredible.
This movie is so well made. Like, there's no question of the quality of what's being put on screen. It's just how I think the overall story works for you.
And, I mean, Joaquin Phoenix is one of the best actors working today. He's one of the finest of our generation. Incredible in this movie. If
a movie has Joaquin Phoenix, which kind of ties into Beau is Afraid, but if Joaquin Phoenix is in a movie running away from anything and he's scared, I'm loving it, is what I'm finding out. That's the common denominator, because he is hilarious, and I think he is just so perfect of handling just the absurdity of a lot of scenes, at least that what he's been put into between Eddington and Beau is Afraid, but also he's so relatable. And I, like, throughout the latter half of the movie, I was rooting for him. I'm like, come on, how do we get out of this situation or this scenario? How does this work? And I'm like, oh, come on, buddy. Like, I'm rooting for you, but like, it is kind of again, it's all well made. It's just a matter of how well the story is kind of executed. and how it works for you. I still think that they could have maybe removed a scene. The movie is what, 2.5 hours?
That's another thing I was going to mention is I think it's a bit too long, and I think an area where you could trim it a little bit is Emma Stone and Austin Butler are in the movie. Emma Stone plays Joaquin Phoenix's wife. Austin Butler comes in as this kind of cult guru type guy. And they don't really play into the story of the movie. It's like an element to it, but it didn't really... That's one of the aspects where I was talking about. Like, they're trying to do a lot in this movie. That was one thing where I'm like, you could cut this out, make this a solid 2:15 even. 15 minutes cut out of the movie.
Yeah, I think their story fits within the world of what they're trying to set up with, like, May of 2020, what was going on. That makes sense to me, but I agree. I'm like, Emma Stone is borderline underutilized in this movie,
absolutely,
as well as Austin Butler. We do get a couple of good, like, there's a dinner scene where I really like Joaquin Phoenix and Austin Butler they're back and forth, and I enjoy kind of the awkwardness that Joaquin Phoenix has when he's in, like, meeting people, and they're like, "You're running for mayor," and he's like, "I am. I decided that in one day, and now everyone has questions about it." And I really was engaged in that, but also those characters don't have a lot to do in the overarching story of the film if you're going to try and boil it down to like a distinct plot, because this movie's about a lot of things. It ties in a lot of things. Mostly it works really well, but again, like, when you have such a strong through line, especially when you make that hard shift in the second to the late second act, and now we have a new direction in the film, other things kind of just fall off. And then they revisit, or they come back in, like, the very end of the movie, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting, but I don't think it was necessary. Like, I don't know if this was needed within the story. You could probably axe a couple of characters from this movie, and it'd probably be fine. Which, sad to say, is Emma Stone and Austin Butler.
Yeah, and I think, too, just frustrating, because, like, we've seen Ari Aster with Hereditary, and I think Midsommar, of having a complete movie that feels all kind of consistent of what it's doing, whether it works for you or not. With Beau's Afraid and Eddington, like, even if you love the movies, like, you like both, it's pretty clear there's, like, two halves to each movie.
Yeah, there's a point where it's like, all right, now you're used to this world, I'm gonna throw some wild shit at you. Yeah. And it's like, there's almost moments in both of those movies where it's like, it shifts. And it's like, does the shift work for you, yes or no? But, like, the quality of the filmmaking is still there. So, like, I'm like, Ari Aster's fifth film, can't fucking wait. Do a straight up comedy. I know that I know Eddington was looked at as, like, is it a horror? Is it a western? Is it a comedy? Like, I didn't know what genre I was really getting into, and I get it. After watching the movie, it's a lot of different genre filmmaking, and it works mostly. But I want, like, kind of a straight-edged, give me a comedy. Give me a drama. I've seen what you can do in horror. If you want to return to the horror genre, I would love it, because I love your horror outings. But if you want to do something new, be a fan of it. If you want to do a kids movie, do something that's like a little fucked up kids movie, like Neverending Story, or like something that has like some dark material for children, something that can kind of dig a knife in and twist it a little bit, and like have kids entertained, but also give them something that's gonna give them trauma. As like, I feel like we grew up with movies that were like, we're gonna give you a little bit of like traumatic sequences of like Mufasa dying, or the horse in Neverending Story drowning, and like, give me something like that. Like, I'd be enticed by just about anything he's willing to make. This movie feels so like a mass conglomerate of different genres. I would be dead set on anything he's to make, but I'd be most excited by anything that was like doing a comedy. Like, give me a distinct genre, and I'd be like, thank you. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Even though this movie didn't entirely work for me, I still appreciate that it exists, that we... You know, it's not like I Know What You Did Last Summer of being just like, we've seen this before. This isn't something I've ever seen before. It is wildly different. And just, even, like, I was just kind of thinking of, like, that first half, some of the, like, nuance of it, of, like, you see Joaquin Phoenix get his truck, and it's got all the signs for mayor on there, and he uses the wrong "your" on one of the signs.
I saw that too!
So you get stuff like that, but then you also get Pedro Pascal, who's, like, kind of the more, like, from what we can assume, like, liberal-leaning
mayor, a little more
discount.
PC.
And he's, like, about the mandates and wanting to wear the masks and enforcing that. But then when he's not around the public, when he's not public-facing, he's like, fuck this thing. I hate this shit.
He's immediately ripping
And
it
there's,
off.
like, a scene where him and Joaquin Phoenix are talking, and he steps up, and Joaquin Phoenix is like, 6 feet! And Pedro Pascal just keeps walking up to him. So, like, that, of both sides of, like, they, like... The public-facing part is different than what they actually are, which I think worked for me really well. Yeah. It just kind of lost some of that nuance in the back half for me. Yeah. But there are still a lot of sequences in that back half I liked. It's just that once that shift happened, I'm like, oh, you 2 movies in a row, you kind of lost me in this back half of it.
Yeah. No, I think Ari Aster is great at making like really darkly comedic moments. He's really good at encapsulating a bunch of different genres. I was really worried going into this movie that I'm like, I don't want to revisit May of 2020. How are you going to make me not like hating the entirety of the beginning or first half of this movie? How are you going to get me into the theater and really enjoy this? And he does somehow, because I think he tackles the absurdity of it regardless of side very well. I don't think he really poses a very hard lean or a very hard side on this movie. You get into the latter half and it's like, well, okay, you can kind of read this a certain way, and it's like, this feels like a bit much. But overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I've really enjoyed all of his filmography. I still think his first feature, Hereditary, is his tightest, most well-directed, most just like cohesive, perfect film he could make. Not that the movie's absolutely perfect, but like that is a true Ari Aster movie to me. Midsommar is great. I really enjoy Beau is Afraid, but I can see your complaint about Beau is Afraid and Eddington. There is a lot of overlap between kind of, once you hit a certain point, the movie shifts and kind of shifts hard, and you got to be on board. Not only that, with like the weird setting it's setting up and telling you the story, but where it's going, the wild directions both movies take. It can be a big ask for some people. So overall, I really enjoyed this movie. There are things that I think could be improved. I think you could. I was never bored through the movie. I still think you could probably trim down on it, whether it was like Xing out a couple of characters that overall didn't feel the most relevant or important to the story. And maybe a little bit more ambiguity in certain pivotal scenes may have been great. But overall, I really was surprised by this movie. And like I said earlier, as I've gotten further removed from this movie, because I saw it on Thursday, we're recording on a Sunday. As I've gotten, like each day I wake up and I'm like, I really fucking like that. And it's climbed kind of my rankings for this year. I was telling Corey before we started recording, I don't think it's in my top 10, but it's on that bubble of like 11. It's like 11 and 9. It's somewhere in there. It might be my top 10. It might not. So depending on how the rest of the year is, it might fall out. It might somehow rocket in. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to try and re-see it in theaters. I can't imagine seeing an Ari Aster movie twice in theaters. Not that he doesn't deserve it. It's just a big ask for a lot of the material that he's covering. Overall, really liked it. I can completely understand if you hate this movie. I can completely understand if you really like this movie. And I can completely understand if you saw the trailers and you're like, fuck that. Like, yep, completely get it. Yeah. It's not going to be a movie for everyone. I saw this movie in a theater with 3 people, me including. One person behind me that thankfully stayed throughout the entire movie. I didn't talk to that man, but I'm very curious as to how he felt about the movie. And I saw it during that screening. There is a younger woman that sat in the front, and she left halfway through and did not come back. And I don't blame her, because I'm like, yeah, okay, makes sense. And she left during a more action-heavy part of that latter half of the movie. So after that kind of more pivotal scene that kind of shifts the story. So I wonder if she has kind of similar complaints or similar issues with the movie that maybe you would kind of feel against it, and a lot of stuff that I kind of agree with, even though I like it overall. But it's not going to be a movie for everyone. Not that Ari Aster really makes movies for everyone, but I think he makes interesting movies, and it's worth your time, especially if you don't think you're going to like it, or if there's anything in the trailers that have turned you off. Because I had things in the trailers that I'm like, I am not excited to watch this, but I love Ari Aster, so I'll give it a shot. And it's weird seeing him in interviews, too, where he's just like kind of a bubbly, geeky, nice guy, and I'm like, you make weird shit,
You make bleak movies.
You make fucked up shit. Like, what's going on in your head, dude?
Yeah.
So
I think Chris Stuckman in his review of this movie, a reviewer we both really like.
I didn't watch his review yet, so I'm trying to wait a little bit to give myself more of a grounds to be like, this is how I fully feel about this before I enter into more.
He enjoyed the movie, and he said, this can be the definitive COVID movie, and we can leave it there.
Oh, don't do more.
He's like, we don't need to do this again, really.
No.
This covers things, and even though I'm kind of mixed on it, I think it does a lot of things well. Mm-hmm. And I think, like, a sign of, I don't know, like maturity in talking about this movie is being able to make fun of your own viewpoints just from a social thing of going into this movie, realize that it's gonna play with both sides, make fun, poke, have some jabs at each side. You got to be willing to look at that and be like, all right, yeah, some of this is dumb.
Yeah.
Like, don't be so stick up your ass. Like, just be like, Yeah, okay. Even though I still have my beliefs, like I can still be like, it's kind of dumb, some of the shit.
I think try and go in as blank slate as you possibly can, and I think that this movie does a good job to entertain that. Like, we're not trying to pick a side for that first half. Mm-hmm. And I can say this as a person that wore a mask everywhere I went because I thought I should and because I thought it'd be good. Watching this movie, I was like, oh my god, don't yell at the guy because he's not wearing a mask. He's fine. But back in the time, I'd been like, what are you doing? Put on a mask! But, like, watch the movie, I'm like, can we just, like, ease up? It's an old guy, and he just wants his fucking groceries. Like, can we be nice to him? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's okay. So, yeah, it's a movie that, it's an interesting watch.
Yeah.
You'll get, hopefully, a lot out of. Please, while I am going to sound very hypocritical, because I did not stay for all of I Know What You Did Last Summer, watch this movie through and through to the end if you're going to go see it in theaters, because it's a very interesting movie, and I think it has a lot to say, and I think it tackles a lot of absurd things that we can all massively just, like, relate to, without putting too much of a lean on it for the most part. And I think you'll get enjoyment. Like, there's enjoyment to be had in this movie, regardless of, like, whatever genre you, like, kind of lean towards, or you like horror, you like action, you like comedy. This movie has, like, a lot of different genres, and they tackle it in very interesting ways. And it had some of the hard, like, Ari Aster will never make, nor even though I want him to, I don't think he'll ever make a straight up comedy. But a lot of his comedy shit is some of the stuff that makes me laugh the most consistently today, especially in Beau is Afraid, like the "Don't Mind If I Do" and like the homeless people breaking into his apartment. Like, there's just aspects of his filmmaking that is just so perfectly timed, perfectly executed. Whether it's a joke or a scare, or something unsettling or something poignant, it works. So go see some good filmmaking. You might not love it, but you might like the technique that's used, and you might find it to be an effective story even if you don't love the story.
Yeah, I think just like we're doing here, it causes a good discussion and conversation.
This is probably one of my favorite conversations we've had about it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And we also get a lot of shout outs to Minneapolis, not for positive things, but you know, we see like the mayor of Minneapolis in there and a lot of references. So we see that, so
kind of hits close to home at some point.
They say it, and you're like, fuck.
It came up in the movie, and I was like, oh wow, we're really like, oh shit, that's home, right? Like, we're focusing on it.
Like, we don't get Minnesota mentioned in a lot of things,
which honestly is fine. I'm cool.
It's fine. It's usually not for good things either, like this movie. So interesting discussion. We'd love to hear your thoughts on it. This is a very divisive movie, every viewpoint.
If you were to rank the Ari Aster films, which we talked about off screen, but if you were to rank all four of them, how would you rank them? Because I think you and I aren't that far off.
Yeah, Hereditary's first, Midsommar, and then Beau is Afraid and Eddington. I could see Eddington jumping over Beau is Afraid.
Okay.
With time, I think Ari Aster movies, there's a lot to dig into and think about that you don't get on a first watch, or even just with time kind of thinking about it. So Beau is Afraid and Eddington are kind of tied for 3, I would say.
Yeah, okay. I would go same first two, Hereditary, Midsommar, which I feel like most people would probably lean that way. If you think Eddington's his best movie, I'm not disagreeing with you. I want to meet you. I just think that's awesome. It's a cool perspective to have. But I'd put Hereditary, Midsommar. I'd probably at this point still put Beau is Afraid third, and then Eddington. But those last two films, the issues I would have are relatively the same for both. It's just they get really ambitious, they get kind of out there, and they hit a shift in the story that from what I was expecting. So it's a big adjustment. But I really, again, Joaquin Phoenix running away from something petrified works for me. So put him in, make Joker 3. Even though I haven't seen Folie à Deux yet, make Joker 3.
That's going to be a fun conversation when you see Joker 2.
Whenever I do watch that, because if you're new to this and you haven't heard our takes on it, obviously I haven't seen the movie, Folie à Deux, but Corey actually is one of the few people I've heard ever defend that movie.
It's not perfect, but I like a lot of that movie.
So, and I wouldn't be surprised if I lined up with you on most of it, just because knowing you and knowing how we tend
do it
to
on like an off week when nothing big's coming out. We can really dive into it.
That might be good. Might be good. But what else did you watch this week?
So I watched a movie I mentioned last week. You very generously loaned me the Blu-ray of Ephus, which is a baseball movie that came out earlier this year. Pretty small, limited release. You saw it in theaters and really enjoyed it. And I love baseball. I grew up playing baseball. I've loved it ever since I can remember, just watching the World Series with my dad. I remember, as just a kind of a side note, when I was like 6 years old, I think, my dad was watching the World Series, and my mom was like, hey, Corey, you need to go to bed. And I was like, no, I want to watch this baseball game. Like, I'm into it. And my dad was like, oh, I knew that you were kind of like into this. And like, we just sat and watched this movie or watched this game together, and that's just kind of like a special memory.
Yeah, it's like I knew you were watching, but like I didn't know you were like this invested.
Like, I didn't know you were like
stay awake for this.
Yeah, so like I've just loved it since then, and I played the game, and we obviously played beer league softball, which is a lot of fun, which kind of plays into this movie, which is this group of guys that are on this rec baseball team. They're playing against each other in this very small town, and their field is getting demolished for a new middle school that's coming there. And so this is their last game that they're playing, and this is just a complete opposite of Eddington, where it's just
it's about something so simple.
Just a moment in time. This is not a character or a story propelled movie, which is always very interesting because that's the two main things that you kind of look for in a movie. But with this one, it's just like these group of guys, and you get little hints of their lives and little things, and just how much love they have for this, even though none of them want to admit how much they love it. Yeah, because they're guys. They're just like,
all right,
we're drinking beer. They got the 224 packs on there. They're like, where do you want me to set these, boss? And they're just doing that like a pizza truck or a pizza like food cart comes by. They're just like having a good time. And I really like this movie a lot. I think it's just such an easy watch. It's so enjoyable. If you love the game of baseball, there's a lot of appreciation for it in this movie and a lot of love. Bill Lee shows up in the movie as this kind of relief pitcher who he was actually a pitcher for the Red Sox and the Expos and the other teams. He was great, like one of the shining moments of the movie. So I really did dig this movie, and it's just, as we kind of are on our beer league softball team too, like it's something that we look forward to every week. Just being able to go and hang out with the guys, get a couple hours, and just have fun. Yeah. Just the purity and innocence of that too, as they kind of get later in the night, the sun's setting, and they're like, all right, well, we don't have enough money to like turn these lights on. We kind of have to get our trucks to like shine lights on the field.
Position it so we can highlight the entire outfield.
Some of the guys are like, we can't fucking see. Yeah. Like, I don't know where the ball is. So just little shit like that, and the guys are chirping each other just about their wives or their girlfriends or what, like just an ultimate like kind of guys being guys movie. And I really enjoyed it. It's just a very sweet movie in parts. I really don't have any like major issues with it. I just like wanted more time with these characters. I wanted like a whole mini series about these guys going to the bar after this time. So really enjoyed this one. I think it's an underrated movie from this year for sure that you should check out. Even if you're not a baseball fan, I think you could still get some enjoyment of just like a group of people in this moment of time, a couple hours, enjoying being human beings and just getting away from the stresses of life.
Yeah. I'm rather new to baseball, softball, all that stuff. I was great as a kid at trying every sport, but I've never been good at a sport, and I'm fine with that. But like Corey said, we're on a beer league softball team, and being able to see this movie in theaters, it definitely plays into that nostalgia of like the love of baseball, which is something that's new to me, but something I experience and I see within this film a lot. But more so than just the love of baseball, it's the love of just that connection you get when you play a game. Even if you're playing against opponents you don't like. In this movie, they're playing against opponents they play all the time and they're close with and they know each other, they have good camaraderie, and you get the good jokes and the back and forth, and it works. But also the undying love of something, and not like that this is the last time you're going to be able to play on this field with this team, with these guys, and have this moment. So it's just like, I don't want it to end. I want to, like, fuck it. The lights are out. We're going to bring all of our trucks out. We're going to see the outfield as best as we possibly can, even though the ball is flying past you. I really appreciate this movie. I'm happy that you're able to get to watch it because more so than me, obviously, like, I look to you as being the person that loves baseball out of the two of us. But also, like, one of my favorite photos of Corey, which is a weird thing to say because I don't think I've ever said to you, is like for a long time your Facebook photo was you as a kid in a big ass baggy Twins jersey, and a lot of like our photos together as kids in like middle school was like you in Twins garb, like neon green, highlighter yellow Twins. Like just like what the fuck is that? Oh, yeah. So I'm happy that you finally got to watch this because I think it is very current with where we are in our lives. Mm-hmm. A lot of these characters are in their 30s or 40s, have families, and they have obviously more going on than necessarily like you and I both do, but just to see like characters being aware of the importance of something and how it kind of resonates with the other people that they're experiencing the event with and kind of how it grows really works for me. It reminds me of the movie My Old Ass, which we talked about late last year. There's a scene in that movie where it's like, you never know the last time you're going to ride your bike with your friends. Like, you put your bike away, and then that's just the last time. This time, in this movie, we know it's the last time, and you just see so many people resistant to that. They're like, I just want it to keep going. So it's really touching to me. It has a lot of nostalgia baked into it, even as someone who's new to really, liking baseball and liking the sport. And there's a lot of stuff that you and I think, can relate to, even with, within our beer league softball team. Like, we show up, we bring beer, we see what teams we're playing, like, oh, fuck, we're playing Thirsty Buffalo, like, these guys, this one guy, oh, God, or just, shit like that. It's a good watch, and I think, even if you're not necessarily the biggest baseball fan, this might placate to men, mostly, because this movie is all male characters, except for the one little girl that sings, the national anthem, I think. Mm-hmm. It's a good movie about, times gone by and closing the book on things and just growing up, and there's a lot of nostalgia and sentiment within those moments. So if you haven't seen it, I would recommend it. It's also a very small, low budget film made basically in one sequence. Kind of to confirm or agree with Corey, I would definitely take a longer cut of this movie of these guys going to a bar and drinking their shit till the night's over, just because every time we finish a beer league softball game, it's like, all right, who's going to Thirsty Buff, or who's going to Jay's Down Under? Who wants to go get drinks? And it's just, the camaraderie is the thing that you're staying for. This is a movie that's really driven by, not necessarily, it's a hangout movie. It's kind of like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in that way, where it works for us. And I was really just trying to talk a whole lot so Corey can get us more drinks. But still, what I said is true. I love this movie. It is a true hangout movie. It's not something that is really plot driven. It's a simple story about guys hanging out, doing something that they love with people that they care about for some might say is the last time that they get to do it. So it's a really good moment that kind of encapsulates a lot for the characters and also for whoever's watching. I saw it at the Main Cinema, which is a theater we've talked about in Minnesota, which is really great. It's in Minneapolis. It does a lot of smaller films and more independent films. I saw it in a packed theater. The most busy I've ever seen a screening of a movie at the Main Cinema. And it was all people wearing Twins hats and baseball hats and men, young and old. It was mostly guys. Not that this movie is mostly made for men, but it's a lot of guys in this movie, and it's about something that I think kind of plays into the masculinity of feelings and how we interpret things. But watching the movie with a packed audience and people chuckling along and really getting into it, it's like, fuck, what are you guys doing after this? You want to go play baseball? Who's down? But it's a great movie. I'm happy you got to watch it. Mm-hmm. It's in my top 10 of this year so far, and I doubt it's going to fall out of it. I didn't watch a whole lot of movies outside of I Know What You Did Last Summer and Eddington this week. Those were kind of the big ones, and the original and the half of the remake or reboot. But I did want to revisit, coming off of the massive release and my overall admiration for the new Superman movie, I was like, you know what? I need to revisit Peacemaker. I saw an interview, I forget who it was with, but it was James Gunn going through, is it GQ that does them, or is James Gunn going through and revisiting all of his directorial efforts, or all of his films that he's worked on? Or projects, necessarily. And he said that his favorite thing that he has ever written, worked on, was Peacemaker, season 1. And I was like, shit. So this is a show, I'm not good at watching TV, and this is a show that I fell off of. Not necessarily that the quality wasn't there, it was just that I lost interest, and I was just like, I don't want to keep going. The first time I watched it, I watched the first, I think, three and a half episodes. Now watching it all the way through in this past week, I love this show. And it does play into a lot of the strengths of James Gunn, of just you get the James Gunn humor, the James Gunn bickering between characters, making characters that are horrible likable and understandable and relatable. John Cena as Christopher Smith, or Chris Smith, whatever his name, as Peacemaker. He says some heinous shit, but he's also one of the more endearing characters, at least that I've seen in TV or in this DCU moving forward. And I'm really excited for season 2 to come out. Corey, I know you love this show. Give me some of your thoughts on this show as someone who finally got to finish it.
Yeah, I remember when this show came out in 2022, it was about the same time that the Book of Boba Fett was coming out. And I was much more excited for that, because I was like, oh, Boba Fett's coming back. This is so cool. What's he been up to? And week to week, I was just like, oh, Peacemaker's a lot better.
100%.
Oh, Peacemaker's good.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great. This is, honestly, I think I would take this over almost every MCU show. Besides maybe Loki and WandaVision, I think those are two that are about the same. But like, I think this is one of my favorite superhero shows. Like up there with like Daredevil, even. It's
Penguin.
Penguin. It's so different than a lot of those, but I think John Cena has established himself as a great actor. Yeah. Really, like even in something like Bumblebee, like
in Blockers, he's really likable, and I completely buy into him, even though he's like this muscled out ex-wrestler. Like I still buy him in these roles, which it's more of a like admiration of his ability as an actor than anything. I think he is capable of being the lead of something, or being in Bumblebee, or leading his own show, and I think he handles it exceptionally well.
Yeah, I think honestly, like he's elevated himself for me over like The Rock and Dave Bautista as being like of the like wrestlers turned actors, kind of the main ones. I think he's really, really good. And I think this show has a lot of heart to it. James Gunn does that well, of like these kind of bad people.
Or like Monsters with Creature Commandos, or Suicide Squad. Like he does a good job of making the unrelatable relatable and also lovable.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that first season is so good, and kind of still undetermined like how much of that is actually canon in this new DCU. They kind of leave like an avenue of like some of it could be, except for the Justice League stuff at the end. But which parts carry over, I don't know. But I'm happy that the show exists. I'm so excited for the second season. Comes out in August. We'll most certainly be talking about that when it's coming out, because I think it's a really, really fun show, and a lot of great characters in there for sure. Coming out this week though, big one, Fantastic Four: First Steps, my most anticipated movie of the year. I can't wait. Yeah. I am so excited. We've been waiting for so long. They announced this movie 6 years ago or something.
Probably.
I'm glad they've taken their time to get the script right, get the right director with Matt Shakman.
Yeah, speaking of WandaVision, the most you have given me something that has been the most consistently good post Endgame.
Absolutely.
Within the MCU, and not only that, you fully realize different timelines or different aspects of time, different eras within the television of WandaVision, but also now we're getting this futuristic aesthetic, this like 60s future, and I'm so excited to see a film made by Matt Shakman within the MCU, and the fact that it's Fantastic Four is awesome, because I feel like I don't think anyone's gonna be like, we've gotten a good Fantastic Four movie, even though I would defend some of them.
We like the 2005 original one.
We grew up with those are nostalgic.
Yeah,
and I love Fantastic, but I know it's not a good movie, but I really like it, but it's not a good movie. Yeah, I will stress that it's not a good movie.
I am excited. I'm gonna rewatch the 4 other Fantastic Four
Roger
movies
Corman
this week.
one.
Yep, I've seen parts of it, and then we watched it together and fell asleep.
Yeah, that movie's wild. And I really like that too. It's not good, but I really like it.
Yeah, so I'm excited to do that, but I'm stoked for Matt Shakman to come in. I think he's a really great fit for this movie, and just all the trailers have worked for me. And even we talked a little bit last week about John Malkovich being cut from the movie, and that was kind of confirmed this week. Mm-hmm. Matt Shakman talked about we just couldn't really find a way to fit him in this movie, so we just cut it out.
Yeah,
and that's what I was we talked last week about Superman, about at least me personally wishing that James Gunn would kind of do that with some of the characters there. Yeah, this feels like some restraint with Matt Shakman being like, man, he was really good, but we just couldn't find a spot for him that made sense. I appreciate that a lot, because John Malkovich is a great actor, and I'm sure he gave a great performance in what he did. And hopefully he comes back in a future project maybe, but I'm very excited for this movie. Obviously, we already got our tickets to see it with our buddies this Friday. Yeah, I took the whole day off, which I'm stoked about.
Do you have a plan for when you're going to watch these Fantastic Four movies? You're going to watch a lot of them on Friday in lead up to us going to see
probably just throughout the week, one a day, kind of do that.
Do you have the Roger Corman one? I should have brought you that one.
I don't. I think it's
try and find it maybe on YouTube.
Yeah, I think it's on YouTube or something. So I'm excited to just kind of go through the history of that, and also Little Caesars has a Fantastic Four pizza.
I have also seen that, so I immediately thought of you.
That box will more than likely be right here. Next to a greasy pizza box that I'll keep and be like, should I keep this forever? I don't know, maybe.
Maybe just cut part of it out.
Yeah, but I can't wait for this movie. I think just the threat of Galactus coming I've really been won over on the trailers by Julia Garner as Silver Surfer. Her presence there, her speech she gives, I think is really great. So I am so excited for this movie. It feels like we've got momentum in the MCU, and I'm stoked about that.
Yeah, I can't wait for this. Thunderbolts I was really stoked for this year. I really actually still enjoyed Captain America: Brave New World, even though it's not, I would admit, it's not the best movie in the MCU, but I still overall really liked it. This one has, I feel like, a lot riding on it, especially with the connotation that was outlined within the ending of Thunderbolts of where we're leading into the MCU. We have Doomsday coming up and Secret Wars, Doom being such a central force. How does the Fantastic Four fit into that? I'm really excited to see this as the next step into that big conflict. So I'm eager to see how it handles that transition. Also giving us hopefully the best representation, interpretation of the Marvel's first family, of the Human Torch, Elastigirl. That made me think of The Incredibles. Not the Elastigirl. Invisible Woman, Mr. Fantastic, and The Thing, which I have loved everything within the trailers. I think the style, the aesthetic works great. The thing that this movie has had to win me really over on, which is not a lot, was the casting of Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards. I love Pedro Pascal. I just have never seen him as Reed Richards. There's been first reviews, first reactions to this movie as there's been screenings of it so far, and people have said that he's perfect as Reed Richards. So I'm really excited to go into the movie, see how that goes. Also, like, this cast in and of itself is fantastic. No pun intended. Ralph Ineson as Galactus is perfect casting, and I can't wait to see Galactus actually fully realized within this film as a body as opposed to a little purple fucking cloud in Silver Surfer or whatever. And I think we got confirmation this past week of Paul Walter Hauser playing Mole Man, it looks like. So it's like, I can't wait to see this. And then the John Malkovich thing that you brought up of, yeah, it's awesome, but like it doesn't fit. And I'm like, that's a bigger vote of confidence for me, that you're willing to cut things that don't overall service the entirety of this movie. Whether this scene would have been really cool, if it's out of place, it's out of place. And that again, it gives me more confidence in the movie. I can't wait. It was towards the top of my 10 most anticipated for this year, and especially this summer. So I hope it does gangbusters. I hope it's good. I hope it delivers. Matt Shackman, I have faith in, so it's going to be a great watch. Aside from that, it's a big Fantastic Four week, and I think everyone else in the film industry knew that. So it kind of plays into what the other movie that's really coming out in theaters is that I've never heard of. It was actually me seeing it on the show notes today, and then also I recognized the title in a poster I saw at a theater, and I was like, oh, okay, so it must be that. But Oh Hi, directed by Sophie Brooks, is coming out also this week. It sounds like, from the looks of it, good counter-programming. It's a little bit more of a rom-com, starring Molly Gordon, Logan Lerman, and Geraldine Viswanathan? I'm not good at pronouncing.
Great in Thunderbolts. And Blockers.
I can never pronounce her name, so I'm not good at that. You know that. If you've watched this show, then more than twice, you know I can't fucking speak. I'm gonna read you the synopsis because I've not seen the trailer. I've only seen the poster, and I'm like, oh, Logan Lerman's in something. I like him. Iris and Isaac's first romantic weekend getaway goes awry in a most unexpected way. Wow, that's vague as shit. But I mean, a good little romantic comedy, maybe? I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about this movie, but it is good counter-programming, I feel like, to Fantastic Four: The First Steps, and everything else that's really out in theaters that we really have. I feel like in terms of like romantic movies, The Materialists was the last one that really came out that we have to kind of look back to. So we'll have something else to go see in theaters, whether it's something that is on your radar or not. Maybe it's something to look into. It could be good, it could be bad. I know it's not going to be the movie I'm like rushing to go see this weekend, but if I hear great things, maybe down the line I'll watch it sometime in the remainder of this year. But Oh Hi will be coming out directed by Sophie Brooks as well this upcoming Friday.
Yeah, it's kind of like Sovereign we talked about a couple weeks ago when Superman came out.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so both of these movies, I'm kind of like, oh, this could be good kind of counter programming there. So I'm actually curious about that one for sure. The other big release coming out this week is a sequel that some people are asking for, maybe?
I know a lot of people my age, or at least like my brothers, are stoked that it's coming out, and that it's coming out to Netflix, which I'm like, I'm okay with it coming out, and I'm pissed that it's coming to Netflix. Like,
yeah.
Damn it.
Happy Gilmore 2, coming out on Netflix this Friday. And it's from the director of Murder Mystery, which I haven't seen, but I
can't assume that it's great.
I'm not a huge Adam Sandler comedy fan. I've never really loved the Billy Madisons and the Big Daddy and Happy Gilmore. It's never really clicked with me. I think Adam Sandler as a person is really funny. I just don't love his comedies. I think he just kind of does a lot of the same shit, and I'm just like, I don't know. I think he's funny on SNL for sure when he was on there. I love when he does dramas. Uncut Gems, Punch Drunk Love, which I don't love that movie, but I think he's great in it. and then Hustle, the basketball movie,
Yeah, I still
really
need to
good.
watch that.
I
Maybe that's my mandated viewing of this week.
Yeah, there you go.
I go and watch Hustle because it's on Netflix. It's readily available, and I've heard nothing but good things.
Yeah, he's really
and it's
good
got
at it.
Ant in it, so
For sure.
why not support our guy?
Awesome. So, yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the original Happy Gilmore in a long time. Obviously, I said I'm not a huge fan, but I am going to rewatch it this week. It's my Fantastic Four rewatch, just to give it another chance and maybe see if I like it more. I will check this movie out just to see it. It's a long-delayed comedy sequel, which don't have a great track record. And last time I checked on IMDb, the plot is unknown at this time. So,
I just checked right now, and it's still the plot is
still
unknown
doesn't.
at this time.
Great. Less than a week out, and we don't know.
Yeah,
so.
we don't know. But
Great.
I mean, you can watch the trailer. I don't know.
It's golfing.
It's just
Happy
getting
Gilmore.
everyone back together. It
whatever.
looks like. I'm also like Corey, not the biggest like Adam Sandler comedy fan. I did grow up with a lot of his comedies. I have 3 older brothers, like I mentioned, so we watched. I feel like Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison were on play a lot as a kid. I actually really do like Happy Gilmore. It's probably of his like strict, goofy, oddball comedies, maybe my favorite. I also liked his The Longest Yard remake, and I like the first Grown Ups was fine. Like kind of like you, his comedy gets tired to me, and it gets a little bit too like bombastic, and it all kind of blends together to be the same for me. Wedding Singer is like pretty enjoyable. Like there's things. My wife loves 50 First Dates, swears by that movie. I don't know if I've seen that movie from beginning to end, which if you've seen 50 First Dates, that's really in line with Drew Barrymore not remembering shit every 5 minutes of that fucking movie. But I'm like, based off of the cast, I'm kind of intrigued. I know Eric Andre is in it, and I think he is hilarious. I don't know how big of a role he'll have. They're getting a lot of like Christopher McDonald, like Shooter McGavin. We're getting a lot of like returning characters and actors to this sequel, so I'm excited. Ben Stiller, I love, so to see him in anything is great. I don't know how big his role is going to be. I'm sure I'll end up streaming this on Netflix. I don't know if like Friday for us is going to be so much Fantastic Four day. Mm-hmm. It's nice that we have Happy Gilmore coming out and it's going to be straight to streaming, only for the fact for me, I just got a puppy this past Friday, so watching movies at home is going to be something that's kind of big for me these next couple of days because my dog's bladder has an expiration of 3 hours, so as soon as like 3 hours hit, there's piss on the floor. So to be able to like watch something new at home would be kind of nice. I wish that this is a movie that was going to theaters. Like you have a marketable star in Adam Sandler. Granted, I don't know, kind of like you, the director doing Murder Mystery. I haven't seen that movie. My wife enjoys that movie, so I don't know. I think I have the right amount of reservations as someone who is a fan of the first one. Knowing it's coming straight to streaming, it's a large gap in time between the original and the sequel. I think I have the right amount of hesitation, so I'll watch it, likely next weekend. But if we're looking at the sprawl of new releases that we have coming up this upcoming week, obviously it's Fantastic Four First Steps, which we talked about. So I know a lot of people that watch this. I know Lindsay and Jake are going to watch Happy Gilmore 2. Like, I know my brothers are going to watch Happy Gilmore 2, and I hope you love it. I hope you get everything out of it. I hope I enjoy it. Adam Sandler's not my biggest, like, draw in terms of comedy, but I do have a lot of nostalgia with him, so I'm hoping that I get something out of it. I'm hoping you at least enjoy it. I know you not being the biggest Adam Sandler fan either, but I'm optimistic, so hopefully it's at least watchable, which I feel like for some of Adam Sandler's recent comedies you can't say are watchable. Hubie Halloween, you're dog shit. Anyways, moving into physical media roundup, movies that we've purchased lately. This past week, again, I'm very easily influenced, which is great. So with Superman just coming out, Superman 2025 by James Gunn, I went back and after Corey talking about Superman 2 a lot last week, I was like, fuck, I really want to rewatch those movies. So it's not enough to be able to find them on HBO Max for me. I need to buy them and have them physically because I really like the Donner cut and I don't mind the Lester cut. And it is interesting because an amalgamation of those two cuts I think is what the best movie would be. But I did buy Superman 2, the 4K Blu-ray, which does have both cuts, so I'm excited to have that. That will be delivered hopefully this Monday. Again, sadly, it will be delivered. I don't get to go pick it up. But earlier this week, I was able to go to Half Price Books, which we've also referenced in our videos that we like to go and check out because they're good, like, used store, good used books. secondhand movies, and I was able to find a sealed copy of a 4K Blu-ray with a slipcover for the movie Shazam, which there's a lot of DC movies after our conversation last week about Superman, a lot of DCEU movies that I don't love, but I really actually enjoyed Shazam, and it's endearing, and it kind of fits in line with Superman in terms of just the overall comic booky feel of it and the optimism within it. So I'm like, I really want to watch Shazam again. And I also really want to watch Aquaman, so I might try and look for an Aquaman Blu-ray 4K if I can. If it hasn't slipped, that'd be fucking sick. Who knows if I'll find that, but I did buy Superman 2 with the Donner and the theatrical cut this week, as well as the Shazam Blu-ray 4K, which thankfully I found sealed at a Half Price Books in Roseville, Minnesota.
Yeah, that's awesome. Interesting note about Shazam. One of our reporters this week at my job, he actually did a story on the creator of Shazam in the comics. Grew up in Zumbrota, Minnesota, which is a southern Minnesota little city. So kind of fun.
While we're drinking Twisted Tea, which is not made in Minnesota, we'll talk about Shazam.
Yeah,
because that is from Minnesota. Kind of
a neat little thing. Pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, some big releases coming out on physical media this week. Final Destination Bloodlines, which we both really like, and we'll both buy at some point for sure.
Biggest surprise. It's more of just do I buy the steelbook? Do I buy the fork? Which copy am I looking at? But I will be buying that movie. I love that movie.
So that's the big one of the week, and then a few other ones. We have Fight or Flight, Ash, All We Imagine Is Light, which was kind of in the awards conversation last year. And then the Serenity 4K, which I really like that movie, and Firefly.
Movie.
And then Cobra 4K.
My boy, Sylvester Stallone.
So, a lot of, few more options this week, which is great.
Cobra has one of the most badass scenes I've ever seen in a very over-the-top machismo, masculine action movie of the 80s or 90s. His name's Marion Cobretti. So he goes by Cobra because obviously you're not going to go by Marion. But he goes up to this guy that's kind of giving him grief, and the man's wearing a white tank top, and Sylvester Stallone's character, Cobretti, grabs the man by the neck and just rips the tank top down, and I was like, this dude fucks. This dude is in charge. So, I love Cobra. I don't know if I'm going to buy the 4K of it. I do really enjoy that movie, though. But kind of like what you said, Final Destination Bloodlines, that is the one I'm most excited for. I still haven't seen All We Imagine Is Light. That was the one that was kind of about cinema,
I believe it was from India.
I'm thinking of something completely different then.
That was Empire of Light.
Empire of Light.
That was from a couple years ago.
And that was Sam Mendes?
Yep, that was Sam Mendes. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, All We Imagine Is Light was kind of it didn't get nominated for foreign language film last year, but it's kind of in that conversation. Okay. So, moving into movie news. We have a lot here. We're going to cruise through it somewhat quickly because there's a lot of stuff. The biggest thing from this week was the Emmy nominations, which I did get up and watch in the morning, which I always love doing for these award shows. Gonna go through just some of the main points, not all of the nominations, because that would take forever, obviously. Yep. But some of the big notes is that the most nominated shows, just kind of the overall nominations, Severance was the leader with 27 for its second season. The Penguin had 24, The Studio and White Lotus had 23, The Last of Us had 16, Andor and Hacks had 14, Adolescence, The Bear, and The Pit had 13. So those are kind of the big players this award season. As far as drama series go, I think it's kind of between The Pit and Severance, which I haven't seen The Pit, and I'm not usually drawn to drama or to medical shows. Yeah. But I've heard really good things. And then comedy series, Hacks has been killing it the last few years, so I imagine that would kind of sweep here. Some other kind of surprises, snubs, just other things I wanted to mention. No nominations for Squid Game Season 2. Not even just, the main nominations, any nominations at all.
Nothing.
I haven't seen that show, but I know a lot of people really like it, and I've heard the third season is pretty good.
Yeah, that's something I think I missed the boat on. It came out in, that 2021, 2022 era, and people really loved it when it came out, and I think I was just, kind of turned off by it, and I've never thought to even try and go back to it. So.
Yeah. But I know a lot of people were upset about that. The Handmaid's Tale, its final season came out this past year, and I watched the first season and I liked it. I just didn't keep up with it. But I mean, a lot of times you'll see the final season of a show get nominated, sometimes even win.
Yeah, the Return of the King era thing.
Yeah, and Game of Thrones that happened with its last season. So Elizabeth Moss had kind of been a consistent nomination in this category. She didn't get nominated. No major categories there. One thing I wanted to point out is that Andor didn't get any major acting nominations, which was a bummer. I know Stellan Skarsgård is great. Genevieve O'Reilly, I think, could have deserved one.
Yeah.
Even Diego Luna, he was kind of in that race for actor in drama, so surprising to see no nominations there. It did get Best Drama Series, which and a lot of other nominations, but surprising to see that. And then Harrison Ford and Martin Scorsese both got their first acting Emmy nominations. For Harrison Ford, that's great. For Shrinking,
cool.
Yeah, that's great. And Martin Scorsese, he's gotten nominated for a few like documentaries and other TV stuff.
Never for acting.
For acting, he's great in The Studio. The Studio got so many guest actor nominations, like Ron Howard, Anthony Mackie, Zoe Kravitz, who's great in the show. They all got nominations amongst like Seth Rogen and Ike Barinholtz. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the nominations were pretty much what I was expecting. There's a few surprises in there. But I'm excited to see the showdown between Adolescence and the Penguin in limited anthology series. I don't know who's... Honestly, like I think Adolescence is going to win, but I think like even lead actor like Colin Farrell and Stephen Graham are kind of head-to-head. So that'll be a fun one to watch this year. But good crop of nominees, and I've seen a few of these shows, and I really like a lot of them.
Yeah, I've expressed a number of times on this podcast that I'm not the biggest TV person. I'm really bad at keeping up to it. And if I have a chunk in my day where I can watch something, I want to watch a movie where it gives me the full story in a set amount of time, 2 hours. I will say I'm not surprised by a lot of these nominees. I haven't seen all of them. I've seen episodes of The Pit. I've seen the first season of The Bear. I haven't seen any of Adolescence, which I know is a show that I'm horribly missing out on. It's 4 episodes. It's doable. I can watch it, and I will. I know I will. Andor I loved. Hacks I've heard great things. Studio I know I will likely watch. My wife really wants to watch The White Lotus from what I've heard. Doesn't sound like my cup of tea. Maybe I'll watch it with her. So like I'm not the best person to ask in terms of TV, like, wait, what should I be watching? I'm not surprised by Severance getting a lot of nominations. I'm thrilled by The Penguin getting as many nominations as it did. And like the Martin Scorsese thing came out, and I immediately flashed back to watching Taxi Driver for the first time, and you get Robert De Niro driving the taxi, Travis Bickle, and you have Martin Scorsese who's stalking his girlfriend or his wife, I forget specifically within the movie, and he's like trying to catch her cheating. And you get Martin Scorsese in the back of the taxi talking. I'm like, that's so interesting to see him in that movie. And that was the first thing that came to mind now that he's finally an Emmy-nominated actor. That's crazy to me. I love Martin Scorsese. That's so cool. Is there a specific category? Because I'm not the biggest TV person. So the category for me that I look to right away is limited or anthology. Because those are the shows that I likely will watch. If they're limited, if they're contained within one season, I will go see. If it's a multi-season thing, I kind of lose interest. Is there a specific category that is the first thing you look at in terms of Emmys?
As far as like the best things in that category, or
kind of like when we watch the Oscars, you look at the best directing category the most, probably. I'm guessing that or best picture. For the Emmys, what is the one that like you are the most eager to see the nominations for?
I think it changes every year, and it's honestly just the races that are really close, because like this year it's like a lot of like comedy stuff. I think like Gene Smart for Hacks and that show in general, I think, are kind of on the upswing, whereas The Bear, I think, is kind of on the downswing. Even though I still like this is the 3rd season of The Bear that's nominated, not the 4th season, which just came out. So like comedy feels there. Drama, like I said, is kind of Pit and Severance. So yeah, this year kind of is that limited anthology series, which will be interesting. And I also like seeing the craft categories too. Not many people talk about the below the line categories, but the camera work, production design, the costumes, all that type of stuff. Like House of the Dragon, its 2nd season didn't get a lot of big nominations, and it's tough because like that came out last summer, and like
it's hard to hold that in comparison to shit that's still more recent than that.
And like when I was looking through all the categories too, like The Acolyte was nominated for a couple things, which I'm like, that was last summer too. For like some costumes, some craft stuff, obviously.
Again, I haven't seen it, but like still, from what I've heard.
So it's very interesting. I like seeing those little things too. I don't believe that Superman, the Christopher Reeve story, got nominated for documentary, but it got nominated for a bunch of other things. So just those little things I like looking out for. I like watching the Emmys. I've really gotten into TV the last couple of years. There's just a lot of good things to watch there. So I'm excited. They happen in September, so we will obviously cover that once the winners come out.
I'm only going to highlight this just because I recently saw it as you were talking, but Best Comedy Series, What We Do in the Shadows has a nomination, I am
Oh
seeing.
yeah, I haven't seen that. I know you like that show.
I am working on its last season right now, which I'm sure is the season that is likely in conversation for these nominations, for these awards, and I love this show. It is consistently one of the funniest shows. If you like the movie, What We Do in the Shadows, directed by Taika Waititi from, I think, 2014, definitely watch the show, because honestly, the show's probably better, weirdly enough. But that really excites me, and I've seen a decent amount of Abbott Elementary of the first season. Again, I'm really bad at continuing on with TV shows past a first season of things unless they really win me over. You're showing me your screen for something.
I have to go pee so bad.
Okay, I can ramble for a bit. That's
Go
fine.
ramble on some trailers. I was going to do it slyly, but you talk about some trailers.
This will likely not be edited out,
No.
which I love.
And you may have to pee after the trailers, and I can ramble on a bit.
You know I need to pee. I've had 4 Twisted Teas.
Yes, I have to pee so bad. You talk about the trailers.
Yeah, this is supposed to be the charm of the way we do things, is that we drink a lot, and I'm not like a really smart person when it comes to talking pretty consistent, as Corey laughs, pretty consistently about how I feel about things. And then you add alcohol to the mix, and then I am just further stupefied. So, stupefy. But looking at this trailer roundup from this past week, we had a lot of big trailers that came out. Stranger Things Season 5, which, God, that can't come quick enough. We finally got a trailer for that. Pixar's Hoppers, Mortal Kombat 2, Tron Ares. We got a trailer for Alien Earth from Noah Hawley. And then After the Hunt, which I'm not going to lie, I have no idea what the fuck that is. But Stranger Things Season 5, I'm not watching trailers for this show. I am late to the game in terms of Stranger Things. I really liked the more recent seasons. I really dug Season 3 and Season 4. Season 1, when it first was like fresh to Netflix and everyone loved it, I didn't like Season 1. And I like Season 2 more than Season 1, and every season has kind of really built up confidence in what was to come for me. So Season 5, what we're looking into, I'm really excited. I'm sure Vecna's in that trailer. I didn't watch it. I'll probably pose it to Corey once he gets back from pissing, what he thought of Season 5, or the trailer for Season 5 of Stranger Things. The trailers that really won me over this past week were Mortal Kombat 2 and Tron Ares. I recently watched Tron Legacy. We didn't talk about it on the show just because it was a busy episode of talking about Superman and stuff like that. I rewatched Tron Legacy just because I love the visual feast that movie is. It looks so spectacular, and I love the CGI, the score of Daft Punk in Tron Legacy. So I rewatched that. I'm so stoked for Tron Ares. I think that this trailer is great. It gives me Jared Leto in a not annoying way, which is a massive win. I've really only enjoyed Jared Leto in like what he did with Darren Aronofsky in Requiem for a Dream and Blade Runner 2049, where he's more of like a subdued, smaller role. Sure, he's weird in Blade Runner 2049, but it's at least controlled weirdness. Fucking sucked in Morbius, but I really am excited based on this trailer for Tron Ares, and I think he's serviceable and looks like a good kind of co-lead in that film. So I think this trailer does a lot of showing the dread of Tron bleeding into the real world. So I'm sold on that. Loved that trailer. Alien Earth, I've gotten to the point where I'm not going to watch a lot of trailers for this show. I'm sold. I will likely watch the show because I'm a big Alien franchise fan. Even if it is TV, I'm probably going to sit down and watch probably every episode of this. Mortal Kombat 2. Mortal Kombat from 2020, 2021?
21.
21?
Mm-hmm. I'm back, by the way.
Yeah, he's back from pissing.
Went to the bathroom. Felt great. If you need to do it in a second,
I likely
it feels great.
I'm sure it does. Don't edit out you leaving. Don't edit out the sound of the piss hitting the porcelain.
Hope you guys could hear it.
Yeah, hope you can hear it. But looking at Mortal Kombat 2, this looks like what was promised to us in the 2021 film, because Mortal Kombat, obviously, you think of the tournament. And you think of all these really cool, iconic characters, which the first movie gave us Scorpion, gave us Sub-Zero, gave us some of these iconic characters, but you don't get the tournament. It's just them gathering for it. And like Sonya Blade. And we have like this new character named Cole, who's nothing from the games. And it's like, what are we doing here? I think this new movie and this new trailer for Mortal Kombat 2 does such a good job at selling Johnny Cage and selling Karl Urban as that character, and him hopefully taking the spearhead, taking the front line of the leading characters within this film and giving us this new perspective of like a new person that's fully being sucked into the world of Mortal Kombat, Give us some fights. Give us a good tournament. It looks like that's kind of displayed within the trailer. Corey, I'm going to give you a crash course. I mentioned Stranger Things Season 5. I haven't watched the trailer, but I'm excited for that new season. After the Hunt, I don't know what the fuck that is. Do you?
Yeah, After the Hunt is Luca Guadagnino's new movie. It's coming out this fall.
I'll likely see it.
It has Andrew Garfield, Julia Roberts, Io Debris. Looks kind of like a love triangle type. Not like in Challengers type of way.
Okay. Challengers didn't work for me. If you're new to this, I hated that movie. Actually, my wife did too, which kind of makes me feel better because I heard nothing but good things, and then me and my wife watched it, and we're like, oh my god.
Yeah,
not it.
It looks okay. He's always doing stuff interesting too, which I'm excited about. Alien Earth trailer, kind of more of what we've seen. I'm excited for that show. That Tron Ares trailer, I think looks great. I am very excited. I think this has the potential to be the best Tron movie.
Yeah.
Like I haven't seen the original one actually, so I've only seen Legacy, which I like. I know you enjoy that movie too.
Yeah.
So this one looks sweet. I'm excited.
Legacy for me is more rewatchable than the original. I will say, I watched the original before you, but I don't think that you're gonna have there's a lot of appreciation, kind of like what we talked about. I appreciate this film, even though I don't love it. The effects are kind of really cool and at the front line of a lot of big things that were being done with special effects in that era. But it's not like a revolutionary story. It's a pretty cool movie, and it has some pretty top of the line VFX for the time. They're a little dated now, but it's still really cool to see that time capsule moment of wow, this was really awesome when it came out. I'm excited to see when you eventually rewatch all the fucking Tron movies for Tron Ares when it comes out later this year to see how you feel. But Tron Legacy. Yeah, you and I both really have a good admiration for it, and I'm sure Tron Ares looks great. This trailer looks fantastic.
Yeah. Mortal Kombat 2, I am excited. I enjoyed the original, 1995?
I'm going to go
Take your bathroom break. Yeah, I'll keep cruising on here. But I enjoyed the 1995, I think it's 95, original movie. I think it's fun. Annihilation is obviously very famously bad movie, which is sort of fun to watch in its own way. But I actually don't mind the 2021 Mortal Kombat movie. I think that it has some good stuff and kind of sets the groundwork for this new movie. But I think I kind of heard Mason talk about how it wasn't about the tournament, which is what we all really want to see. It sets up some interesting characters, and I think a lot of the casting is good. But I'm excited for this movie because Carl Urban coming in as Johnny Cage looks sweet. And I think that this kind of gets into what we want to see. Even though I've never played the Mortal Kombat games before, and I just know about them, I've heard about them, I don't know a lot of the lore behind these characters all that much. But I'm excited for this one. They also released the movie within the movie of Uncaged Fury, which stars Carl Urban. They did a trailer for that, which is really fun. It's very campy and corny and all that stuff. So I think that looks really fun, and I'm excited to see that this fall. Pixar's new movie Hoppers is coming out next spring, and this looks sort of like Get Out, but with animals. A human's brain goes into an otter or some bullshit.
That's what Hoppers is?
Yeah, they put a human's brain into a beaver or an otter or something like that. I don't know. Again, I appreciate its original, much like Elliot. I'm excited about that. But Stranger Things Season 5, I think the trailer, it's a teaser trailer, and I think it does what it should do, is getting you hyped for the next season.
Yep.
I love all 4 seasons of the show, the first one being my favorite. I know that's your least favorite.
It is.
But I think Season 4 is really great, too, so it's kind of leaving me wanting more. But each one is 2 hours, 2.5 hours long, each episode.
Yeah, I saw the runtimes for that. I'm like, fuck, this is going to be a thing to tackle, which my wife is really excited about it, so we'll watch it all together like we watched Season 4. And her excitement for it is what kind of got us through Season 4. Granted, Season 4 is my favorite. It's just, again, I'm not a TV person. And every season of Stranger Things for me has gotten better and has improved on the previous. If you want to look back at those first 2 seasons, I will acknowledge the episode of Season 2 where there's an X-Men and Eleven's really punk emo. It does suck. It's ass. But I do think every season has improved on the season prior. And I'm eager to see Season 5, but 2.5 hour run times for an episode. That's a fucking movie. I get why they've taken so damn long if these are how long of the episodes that we're getting or the duration of them. So I'm really excited. I did not watch the trailer. I told them that while you were pissing, which we're not going to edit around this because that's
No.
100% not like us. We are just going to show you that, and you can either be on board and really like it or shut the fuck up and not watch us continuing forward. But one thing I didn't bring up, which I don't think I heard you bring up while I was pissing, was that the first poster was also released for Supergirl, which is a good play on what we got in the marketing for Superman. Superman was all, look up, look up, look up, and now we get spray paint over the up, look out, and just her sipping on like a big gulp from fucking 7-Eleven or some shit, and her jacket. Spoiler if you haven't seen Superman yet, but we did get an introduction to Supergirl in that movie very briefly, but it looks very in line with what we've kind of gotten already exposed to in terms of this new character within the DCU, so I'm really excited by that poster. I think it's perfect marketing. I think releasing it when they did is so genius because it's only going to drive... If you're excited for Supergirl and you haven't seen Superman, this poster might push you to go see Superman. But also, if you have seen Superman, you're like, this is so in line with the brief amount of time we've spent with this character already that I'm so eagerly anticipating the Supergirl movie, more so than I thought. So I think it is genius the way that they released that poster and just the play on the tagline of "Look up." Now it's get the fuck out of the way, look out.
Yeah. No, a lot of big trailers released this week, so a lot of fun to talk about. A little bit of news. Robert Eggers' new movie Werewolf, spelled W-E-R-W-U-L-F.
The way you think Robert Eggers would spell werewolf is the way that this movie is spelled.
Old English? Yeah, it's back. He
Yeah.
ain't making a movie in modern times, that's for sure.
Which, good.
Yeah.
Fine. You're great at it.
He does really good. So that movie is coming out in December of 2026. Aaron Taylor Johnson and Lily Rose Depp, who were in Nosferatu, reportedly in this movie. So I'm excited about that. I think this could be an awesome movie, much like Nosferatu, kind of in that same vein. I like that movie a lot. So excited about the cast. I think they're good choices for it.
Yeah, Nosferatu was a movie I really came around to after the first viewing. Still, my common gripe is that Lily Rose Depp doesn't 100% work for me in that movie, but I'm still excited to see what she is able to do in another kind of collaboration with Robert Eggers and Aaron Taylor Johnson. Aaron Taylor Johnson being announced, I think, as the lead of the film. But yeah, it's Robert Eggers doing another horror-themed or horror genre with Old English and different period piece, and he killed it in Nosferatu in terms of delivering on a different period. Same with The Witch, and I'm sold. I'll go see it. Can't wait. I'm not mad about this casting at all. Some big casting, depending on what you kind of follow in terms of pop culture. If you're a big Legend of Zelda fan or a big Nintendo fan, you know of Legend of Zelda. Everyone does. You know Link. The movie has officially cast, which I believe this is a live-action film, I think coming from... Is it the director of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, I think? Wes Ball, I think, was handling the adaptation of this to live-action, if you can check that, because God knows I can't. But we did get some casting updates in terms of who are going to be playing kind of our front characters. We got Bo Bragison as Zelda, and Benjamin Evan Ainsworth as Link. This film is going to be releasing in May 2027, which Corey did give me the thumbs up, saying that Wes Ball, I think, is handling the live-action adaptation of this film, which I am really excited to see a live-action adaptation of Link. Even though I'm not one that has heavily followed or circulated these games, I think that he is still such an iconic character. My exposure to Link is from Super Smash Bros. And I mained as Link. Link is awesome in Super Smash Bros. You can fucking tear shit up in that game with him. So I'm excited. I know nothing. I've never played a Zelda game. And everyone's like, oh, Ocarina. All these Zelda games are the best games ever. Cool. I'm really excited about this movie. I'm excited to see a character that I don't personally know a whole lot about explored on the big screen, and I think I always want to say Uwe Ball, Wes Ball, direct this film, which is completely different.
A little bit different, yeah.
Very different if Uwe Ball was to direct this film, but Wes Ball directing a live-action adaptation. I'm really sold on this. The casting, I don't recognize a lot of these actors, or these two actors, but they look the part. They work for me, so I'm sold. I don't really need many updates, I think, past this point, aside from just get me into this world.
Yeah, I mentioned with Mortal Kombat, I've never played that game. I've never played a Zelda game. I really don't know story, character. I don't know anything about this world or literally anything. But I hope it can be like a Minecraft thing, which another game, I don't play a lot of games. But where it just introduces me to a fun world, and if it's an enjoyable enough movie and I hear good things, I'll definitely see it. So, I have some curiosity about it for sure. We also had the first pictures released of the Harry Potter series from HBO. We talked about a lot of the casting in the past couple months. We got first couple pictures of Dominic McLaughlin as Harry Potter and Nick Frost as Hagrid. I don't like to harp too much on like set photos or first release things because they're really not like a part of the show.
I think I know what you're gonna say.
But Dominic McLaughlin looks like a lesbian woman as Harry Potter.
Whoa! Okay,
It looks like,
I didn't know what you were gonna say.
It just looks funny, and I think he actually looks fine as the character of Harry. I'm excited to see that. But Nick Frost looks like he has like a Spirit Halloween Hagrid costume on, and they both kind of do. Which again, I don't want to like harp too much on that. This is like first look. It's like whatever. I don't want to speculate too much. It just looked kind of like, you guys are trying.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't need this series. I think I've said it before. If no Harry Potter movies were ever made, this is the first time we're getting it as a show. I think that's a great idea to do Harry Potter as a show, a season for a book.
Yeah,
I think that's an incredible. There's so much in the books. I love the books, but because we have the movies that all 8 of them are good, which is surprising that like the young actors turned out to be really good actors and fit these roles so well. We don't need this show, but just wanted to mention that we got first couple pictures there. I'm sure we'll get some more updates in the coming months.
What I would have thought you were going to say is not at all what I thought you were going to say.
What did you think I was going to say?
I thought that Dominic McLaughlin as Harry Potter, that like sold me. I was like, this looks like a young Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter, which sucks that this show is coming out post all of those films because now you're just set up for comparison to those films, and it kind of sucks. It's an uneven edge that is in favor of those original films and kind of puts a slight on your show. I'm really excited about this show actually because of exactly what you said. We have more time with these characters, and each book will be translated into a full season. We'll have more time, and I think it will give us more fully fleshed out characters. Not that they weren't fleshed out in the films, but it will fully develop that world within what is kind of included within those books. The thing that I thought you were gonna say is that I thought Nick Frost as Hagrid looks like an AI photo. I thought that it looked so like it looked like someone just typed that in ChatGPT and just developed that photo. Yeah, make Hagrid with Nick Frost.
Yeah,
and I was like, I saw it and I was like, is this fake? Like it almost does look fake to me. Again, and I'm sure that my memories or my experiences with those original films is kind of coloring that comparison or coloring that expectation that I got with that photo. But I was more just like, okay, Hagrid looks like Hagrid. I'm happy that it's Nick Frost. I love Nick Frost. I was really excited by that Dominic McLaughlin photo. I think, one, he looks really like adorable as a little kid playing Harry Potter, but I'm also like, that doesn't look far from Daniel Radcliffe. Again, you're going to be kind of sullied with the comparisons to those original films, but I'm overall still really excited about it because it is coming from HBO Max, which is now HBO Max again, but really cool to see those photos. Even though I'm not like 100% won over on them, I'm still excited for the show, and it's cool to kind of get those in production photos as the show is finally being made. The piece of news that I think is kind of fun, it's not like the biggest thing, but in terms of the summer, me and Corey did give our expectations, our lineup basically for what movies were likely going to be the top earners through the summer. I'm pretty sure the one I chose, I think I chose Lilo and Stitch.
Yep.
Lilo and Stitch is the first film of 2025 to cross $1 billion at the global box office, which is something that Minecraft got really close to. I think it kind of fizzled out in like the high 900s, so it was like so close, you're almost there. But Lilo and Stitch is the first official film of 2025, which isn't like the biggest surprise, I think, to you or I, that it is hitting this threshold and will likely continue to make a little bit more money. I didn't see Lilo and Stitch, but I'm like, other movies deserve more money than this movie, just based off of what this is and it being a live-action remake and kind of my experience with that and how my opinions on live-action remakes. But it is cool to finally have that threshold being broken regardless, because 2025 has kind of been... We've had a bunch of movies that I feel like have been within the lineup, the released lineup for this year, and then I feel like none of them have really like hit the massive expectations of making a fuck ton of money, except for maybe Minecraft, which was a surprise to a lot of people, making that much money. But Lilo and Stitch making that amount of money makes me really happy, because I'm like, all right, it's been broken. It's been done. hopefully more movies this year will do it. Maybe Fantastic Four will kill it. Maybe Superman has an outdoor baseball chance of hitting that threshold as well. So I'm hopeful. It's interesting that it's Lilo and Stitch. Sadly, it's Disney doing a live action remake, so that's just gonna further be like prove to them that they should continue doing this. I'm like, stop doing this. Fucking chill out.
Yeah,
we need this trend.
We talked about, I think, a couple weeks ago that they're doing a sequel, live action
already,
sequel to it. So it's good for box office that we're getting a $1 billion movie, but also the project that it's for. It's like, that's
don't need that.
Yeah.
Like, don't give me the second one.
But definitely, you're gonna get that top spot in our kind of summer competition of the top 10 summer movies.
That number one.
I put How to Train Your Dragon, which is doing well, but it's not at the level of Lilo and Stitch. I just figured that one might have like a little more appeal.
Yeah.
But so you were right on with that one.
Both live action remakes.
Yeah. So we'll see how Fantastic Four does. We'll see how Superman holds. It'll be interesting. I don't know. Like, I think Avatar obviously could make $1 billion.
I feel like that's always within the cards for those movies, because I would never anticipate it for that type of movie.
Yeah, but besides that, like, I don't know another movie this year that could make $1 billion. Like, I think we could have 2, maybe 3.
Superman, Fantastic Four,
and like I think Avatar, Lilo and Stitch, and then like maybe Superman, Fantastic Four, like one of those two. I don't know that there's another one that I'm like that for sure is making $1 billion.
It's also hard that they're like Superman and Fantastic Four specifically. It's hard that those are both coming out in July, and they're both superhero comic book audiences. Not to say that there aren't fans of both, and there aren't people that are going to go see both. Me and Corey are going to go see both, and we have friends that are going to go see both, but they kind of pull from the same catalog of people, the same demographic. So it's like, all right, if like, not that I want Fantastic Four to come out in August, but like if there's maybe some more separation, it might help with it to kind of, August sometimes can kind of hit a plateau and slowly peter out in terms of the month and with the amount of box office that's raked in at the theaters. It's the dog days of summer, and it's usually the dog days of the movies that are released in the box office as well. I'm really hopeful for Weapons. Do I think it's going to make $1 billion? I think we'll be lucky if it makes $200 million. Like, I don't think it's going to make a lot, but it's a movie I'm excited about. I get the, like, Avatar. Yeah, that's a good call. Lilo and Stitch. And then, yeah, if Superman did, that'd be great. I think it could fall in, like, that Minecraft realm of, like, just falling.
Pretty close.
Close, but just short.
8 to 900 million, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm really eager to see kind of how the rest of this summer plays out for us to kind of like sit down. I don't know if I could tell you the top 10 that I put down when you and I went head to head on terms of like what was going to be the top earner of this summer. But I think I put, one of us probably definitely put Megan 2 on there, and that movie kind of came out, fizzled out, and is gone. So it's like, it's going to be interesting to kind of run through that again once the summer wraps up.
Yeah, Jurassic World Rebirth could get there. I remember Dominion a couple years back, like, took a long time to get there, but it eventually did.
Yeah, hit $1 billion.
So, it could. It'll be interesting to see for sure. And we'll keep updating our summer box office kind of as it gets closer, and competition of, I think we bet like a movie on it. We'd buy a movie we wanted.
I'll literally need to listen back to that episode because I don't know what the fuck we bet on, but like, sure.
Yeah.
Like, that's in the realm of what we would bet on, like a movie or buying a movie.
Buy a movie for sure. We'll keep updating it throughout the summer. Another little announcement is Ryan Gosling and Will Ferrell are attached to star in Tough Guys, which is an action comedy from Amazon, and it's about 2 henchmen who are tired of being disposable and break free from the criminal underworld, rewriting the rules as they build a new life on their own terms. Sure, 2 likable actors in an action comedy. That could be fun. I mean, from Amazon, I hope that it goes to theaters.
Yeah.
I hope it's not like a Prime thing, which they do sometimes with like their just put it on Prime and whatever, kind of dump it off. But 2 big actors like that, I think it could be a fun movie.
Yeah, no. When I first saw the title, I was really excited because I saw Ryan Gosling and Tough Guys. I'm like, is this a Nice Guys continuation somehow?
Oh, yeah.
With Will Ferrell now in the mix, I'm like, this could be really cool. But I feel like we don't get a whole lot of, which again, the release plan for this movie will kind of play into my excitement for it, which sad to say is kind of pretty typical nowadays. If it goes straight to streaming, I don't know if I'm going to be like rushing to go see it, but if it goes out to theaters, it's very rare, I feel like, when we get something more of like a, not necessarily like big budget, but big blockbuster release of a comedy specific film. And I would be really enticed by something like that to go be able to see that in theaters. So I like the pairing of them two. I love Ryan Gosling, and him in the film Nice Guys is so fucking funny. Him with his hand, like, Russell Crowe, I'm gonna break your arm. No! And he's like taking his, like, he cracks me up in that movie, and his high-pitched squeals. I love Ryan Gosling in, like, any terms of an actor, but I think he is a really gifted comedic actor. And obviously Will Ferrell's Will Ferrell, so I'm really excited to see. The team that kind of surrounds them will also help to dictate my level of anticipation and excitement for that film. But regardless, I am pretty excited for that. So I'm sure I'll be checking that, hopefully, out in theaters. In other news, we did get confirmation, weirdly enough, kind of out of nowhere, that Taika Waititi is in talks to be heading and directing a film for Judge Dredd within that kind of IP, which, if you're unfamiliar with Judge Dredd, we did just talk about Judge Dredd earlier this episode with talking about I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, the director of that being Danny Collins, who did Judge Dredd back in 95 with Rob Schneider, which, yes, he's in that movie for some reason, as well as Sylvester Stallone. We also got the Carl Urban, really good Alex Garland Dredd movie from, I want to say 2013, somewhere in that time, 2011, 2013. My mind is fucking fogged over by Four Twisted Teas, so I don't know. But weirdly enough, Judge Dredd is a through line of this episode. Taika Waititi being attached to helm a project within that world. I think that his kind of comedy chops, his, like, I don't know. I think he can handle that weird world. I haven't read a lot of the comics, but I've heard that they get pretty zany. So I'm like, yeah, I think that is like a pretty logical next step. I'm more intrigued and surprised that they're willing to make another Judge Dredd project after the 95 film, which was not well received, and then Dredd that was, I think, well received amongst fans but didn't make money. So I'm like, why are we going back to the well on something that is kind of proven to be a dead franchise? While, yes, I'm a fan of it, I'm really surprised by that. I do like Taika Waititi. Also, the script is coming from Drew Pearce, who I know nothing of. I'm sure he has a good, great back catalog. While Corey talks, I will fact check that and act like I know who Drew Pearce is. I don't. Corey, what is your kind of take on this new, kind of somewhat random announcement for a new Judge Dredd project?
So I actually haven't seen the Sly Stallone Judge Dredd, so this will give me an opportunity to watch that. I've heard a lot of similar thoughts to what you said about it, where it wasn't really well received, but I'm excited for it. And then Dredd, in I think, like 2011, 2012, somewhere in that time with Carl Urban, the marketing for that movie wasn't like incredible. It wasn't really like getting a lot of attention, but the movie came out and people were like, oh, this is really good. Like, and I love that movie too. So, and I would honestly just love a sequel to that movie with Carl Urban back in that role, because I think he's really good.
The movie's great.
So, this is interesting. Yeah, I don't know much about the comics of Judge Dredd, and Taika Waititi seems like an interesting choice for me.
It does fit kind of like the black humor of the franchise, but also, like, are you giving me Thor Ragnarok, Taika Waititi, or are you giving me Thor Love and Thunder, Taika Waititi? Ragnarok, kind of, I can envision what a Dredd exists like in that aspect of tone. Thor Love and Thunder, fucking don't give it to me. I don't want it. Like, it's going to be really dependent on what that script is, which, are you familiar with Drew Pearce?
I would have to look him up.
I did just look him up. Okay. So I'll give you a rundown of his credits, which I'm actually like pleasantly surprised by.
Yeah.
He did work on the screenplay for Iron Man 3, which I don't love, but all right, well, that's something established. He also did the story for Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. He worked on Hotel Artemis, which I think is a pretty quietly entertaining action thriller from 2018. Hobbs and Shaw, or Fast and the Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. He worked on the screenplay for that, and then also wrote The Fall Guy. Okay. So the one of those that really interests me the most is probably The Fall Guy. It is the most recent, but it was a project I really enjoyed. So, I mean, he's somewhat of an established writer. I think that pairing with him and Taika could be something interesting. Judge Dredd, again, more just surprised by that IP being recirculated again.
No, it could be interesting for sure. But yeah, here's been 2 hours of this is what happens when we have like 4 drinks each. We go on for over 2 hours. Yeah.
How long have we been talking?
It is 2 hours and 7 minutes,
Holy
20 seconds.
Shit.
Yeah.
Oh, so we usually we'll hit pause, we'll both run to piss immediately after we record, and then Corey will be like, yeah, it was like a nice episode, like hour 19, hour 20.
We try to keep it to like an hour and a half or so.
Yeah.
And this didn't feel like a week we were going to go on this
How
long.
long was our Superman episode? Like, it couldn't have been longer than
shorter
this.
than this one,
Which
I think.
is wild that we talked about. I Know What You Did Last Summer in an episode that was longer than the Superman breakdown episode.
There's a lot of movie news this week, a lot of things.
Yeah, it was.
So you know what? I hope you guys enjoy it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Maybe not. Whatever. Fuck it. I don't care.
We're leaving the edit of us both leaving to go pee.
Yeah.
But,
so if you like that, then cool. This is the
watch
podcast
next
for you.
week. Thanks for sitting and having some liquor drinks with us for another episode of Slate Night. While we did just talk about how wild it is that we both left to piss at different times in the episode. Be sure to follow us on Instagram or on TikTok for more in-depth movie reviews and news as we kind of face things and debrief things throughout the week in terms of movies that we see and news that we face. In the world of film, it's not just about what happens on screen, but also about who's sitting next to you in the theater.
From Mason and I at Slate Night, that's a wrap.